the most powerful phone in history. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 101. After everyone chatted, it was time for the auction. They each put down the wine glasses in their hands and entered a large theater-like room in the villa, which was obviously a special place for such events. After Xu Feng entered, he found a seat in the corner and sat down. He was not interested in the auction items, and his purpose of coming tonight had already been achieved. The room is not big, but it is set in a stepped shape, so you can see the words of the people on the front stage more clearly. There are probably less than 100 people sitting in the whole room, but everyone is a real rich man. In order to preserve the value of their property, the rich generally have a great enthusiasm for collecting cultural relics and antiques. Xu Fei wore a beautiful evening gown, and she was tall and outstanding. She walked onto the stage slowly, glanced around the crowd, and said with a smile, "Thank you all distinguished guests for participating in this year's auction. Today, I will hold this auction on behalf of my father. There are many treasures this time. I hope everyone will return with satisfaction." After she made the opening remarks, the auction officially began. Seeing that the curtain on the stage was opened, and the entire wall behind was covered with a huge LCD screen, Xu Fei began to introduce the first auction item. It was Xu Feng's first time to participate in this kind of auction, and he was very interested in watching it. It turns out that the real auction items will not be brought to the scene. For the transaction, all the top tycoons in Jiangcheng participated in the transaction, and things that failed the auction would not happen. At the scene, the items to be auctioned were displayed on the screen through exquisite pictures, accompanied by Xu Fei's vivid introduction. After the introduction, the bosses below began to raise their placards silently. Each time a placard was raised to represent a price increase. Xu Feng saw that there was also a sign next to his seat, which recorded his seat number, but obviously he would not participate in the auction. Among the auctioned items, most of them are ancient calligraphy and paintings, and there are also some antique porcelains. Sure enough, as Xu Fei said, most of them are rare collections. There were even 10 gold ingots mixed in, which Xu Feng had sold to them before. Everyone, these 10 gold ingots are from the Tang dynasty. The seal on them clearly shows its age. In ancient times, gold ingots were not currency in circulation, but something that only the royal family could have. They were specially used to reward those who made meritorious deeds. Courtiers. Gold ingots have the meaning of auspiciousness. In the Dream of Red Mansions, the golden nudes that GMU rewarded the younger generation are actually gold ingots. It embodies the value of wealth and is a symbol of status. It can make money at home. If you collect it, it will be used as gold. It will not depreciate, and now the starting price is 500 million. I have to say that Xu Fei is very eloquent. As soon as her words fell, there was an endless stream of people holding placards below. The 10 ingots totaled 500 taels of gold. The price of gold alone was worth almost 500 million. In addition, it came from the Tang dynasty. Those rich people naturally flocked to them. After some fair bidding, the gold ingot was finally auctioned by Song Xianhu at a high price of 700 million. He bought this mainly because he wanted to give it to his father, and the older generation believed in meaning. Xu Feng rubbed his chin, and there was no surprise in his heart. The price he sold to Huangshan was lower than this transaction price, but people in business must make money, and only such a large group can sell at bid such a high price. Then some other items were auctioned off, and the auction ended 2 hours later. After the end, those rich people would naturally have full-time drivers to drive back, but Xu Feng was a little worried. This place belongs to the wealthy area, and there is no taxi at all. Just when he was hesitating, a familiar red Ferrari stopped in front of him with the window rolled down, revealing Xu Fei's smiling face. "Mr. Xu, get in the car, I'll take you home." "Okay." Xu Feng didn't refuse, otherwise he might not be able to go home. The courtyard had just ended at this time, and many people saw this scene, and many young people among them began to discuss. What is the background of this kid? It seems that Xu Fei has a good relationship with him. That's right, Manager Qin was fired for him before, and now he sent him off in person. The princess of the Xu family was actually given the preemption by him. Song Xianhu also saw this scene. He just clenched his fists more tightly. turned around and saw Ye Xiner beside him was also looking at Xu Feng and the others in a daze. The anger in his eyes became more intense, and he pulled Ye Xiner roughly. "Let's go, what are you looking at? Do you regret dumping that kid?" Ye Xiner didn't answer him, but silently followed him into the car. As a result, the anger in Song Xianhua's heart became even worse. He stepped on the accelerator and sped away. On the other side, Xu Feng was sitting in Xu Fei's car. "Mr. Xu, you should be able to buy a car. Can you ask why you didn't buy a car?" Xu Fei said with a smile. Obviously there was no mockery in her beautiful eyes. "Well, I just find it troublesome. There is no place to park where I live." Xu Feng said lightly. He did not lie, he just rented a house, and there is indeed no parking space for him in the community. Mr. is really very human, and he doesn't value these false names. I am being rude. When Xu Fei travels by herself, the driver drives a lot. This red Ferrari is for her own use, and she only uses it when going out for fun and on some private occasions. Xu Fei kept sending Xu Feng to the gate of Xiao Garden, and she also asked to go up and sit down, but Xu Feng refused. After all, he is not used to unfamiliar women entering his private space. Xu Fei didn't expect Xu Feng to refuse. She has always been confident in her appearance, and her request was rejected. In this way, Xu Feng became more interesting and mysterious in her heart. After bidding farewell to Xu Fei, Xu Feng returned to his rented house, thinking about changing his residence. It's not for enjoyment. As a single person, he doesn't care much about these things, but he does feel that the rented house is not very convenient, and the security is not as good as some high-end communities. I made up my mind to pay attention. If there is a suitable opportunity in a few days, I can consider buying a villa to live and play. In his portable space, there are actually about 8 tails of gold. The last time he was painting rivers and lakes, he almost filled the entire 1 cubic meter of space. A cubic meter of gold weighs about 10 tons, but after taking into account the space occupied by the box and the space of the gold ingot itself, he estimates that the weight of pure gold should be close to, tails. The reason why he never sold it to Huangshepuan was because he knew that it would be too shocking, and he was sure that even Huangshepuan would not be able to digest so much gold of unknown origin. So he only took 1 taels and sold it to Huangshepuan, and he planned to sell the rest slowly when he had the opportunity in the future. Chapter 102 Assassination. On the other side, Song Xianhua drove the car crazily, and the anger in his heart was almost overflowing. But along the way, Ye Xiner was just silent, as if she didn't notice his anger at all. The car drove into a quiet villa group in Jiangchen. After getting out of the car, Song Xianhua finally couldn't hold back his anger, opened the car door, and tore Ye Xiner off the seat. He grabbed her hair and roared angrily, "Bitch, why don't you speak? What are you thinking?" He grabbed Ye Xiner crazily, turned her head, and let her eyes look at him, but Ye Xiner's eyes didn't fluctuate at all, just dead silent. She seemed to have gotten used to Song Xianhua's rough treatment. "Bitch, you have to understand that the life and death of your company is in my hands, so behave yourself." Throwing her on the ground, Song Xianhua walked towards the villa, when a man who looked like a butler came up to him, and said, "Master, you are back." Song Xianhua paused. "Find someone to take her back, and then you come to my study." "Yes, sir." The housekeeper stepped forward to help Ye Xiner on the ground, then called the driver and arranged to take Ye Xiner home. He came to Song Xianhua's room by himself. When he opened the door, he saw Song Xianhua sitting on the leather chair, turning around constantly, as if he was anxious about something in his heart. Seeing this, he cautiously said, "Master, are you a little too rough with Miss Xiner? She hasn't been married yet. If she breaks the contract, wouldn't it be?" The housekeeper's name was Zhehong. He followed Song Xianhua's father when he was young, and he watched Song Xianhua grow up, so he dared to express his opinion. "Don't worry." Song Xianhua smiled evilly, "She can't escape from my palm. Her father's company's capital chain is broken. Without our support, their family will not only go bankrupt, but her father will probably bear huge debts. I'm afraid she has to jump off a building to pay off her debts, so she never dares to resist me." "Yes, sir. Uncle Jem, I asked you to come here to ask how you are doing with the things I entrusted to you last time." Song Xianhua's expression became serious. "Master, I have found that person, but his bid is higher than we expected, so I just want to ask you, Master." Zhehong said respectfully. "That's great, I'll give him the money he asked for, as long as he can complete the task. There was a trace of madness in Song Xianhu's eyes, and he murmured, Xu Feng, your death is coming. Song Xianhu really hated Xu Feng to the bone, especially after the recent period. He felt threatened by Xu Feng, remembering what Xu Feng said back then to bring down their song group. He felt very uneasy. So he decided to strike first, and specifically asked Uncle Jet to find a long-established killer, Meng Shen. Although the other party's bid was high, as long as he could safely get rid of the thorn in Xu Feng's side, he was willing to pay no matter how high the price was. Xu Feng stayed in the house, became an otaku, and began to watch various books, TV series, and movies. After all, only by watching enough can he make the best choice according to his own needs when traveling in the future. And he also silently set a standard for himself, that is, every time he returns from another world, he must rest in the real world for at least 1 month. It's not for anything else, just to allow his mind to calm down long enough. Otherwise he feels that if he enters different worlds too frequently, he will have a nervous breakdown sooner or later. The time has come to September. If he hasn't graduated yet, a new semester is about to start. Not long after, Tang Xining suddenly received a call asking Xu Feng to go shopping with her. Xu Feng thought that he had stayed in the house for more than a week, and it would be good to go out for a walk, so he agreed. Tang Xining was very happy to see Xu Feng, and kept telling him about her school life. She is also a graduate student who has just entered the report, and she has a lot of things to do. It just so happens that she has time to ask Xu Feng out on weekends. Xu Feng walked around with her all afternoon, and after dinner, he was ready to send her back. But passing by a movie theater, Tang Xining saw a movie poster and insisted that Xu Feng accompany her to watch the movie. By the time the two came out after watching the movie, it was already past 10 o'clock in the evening, and many buses were out of service, so they managed to take a taxi to take Tang Xining back home. After getting off the car, Tang Xining dragged Xu Feng to talk for a long time before reluctantly leaving. After such a delay, when Xu Feng wanted to go back to his rental house, he found that he couldn't even get a taxi. The location of the university town was relatively remote, and it was too late. Fortunately, the house he rented was not too far from the school, and it would not take long to walk back. On the streets at night, there is less traffic, and the street lights are dimmed under the shade of trees. Xu Feng was walking when he suddenly felt a murderous aura coming from behind. The murderous aura was like a substance, locking him firmly. He slowly slowed down his pace and turned around slowly, only to see a person standing in the darkness behind him. His whole body was dark and his face could not be seen clearly. I didn't expect your senses to be quite keen. Now that you've been discovered, you can go die now. As the man in black said, he moved and hid himself in the darkness. When he reappeared, he was already in front of Xu Feng, with a sharp dagger in his hand, cutting towards Xu Feng's neck. His skills can only be described as weird. If ordinary people face this kind of attack, there is absolutely no possibility of surviving. But Xu Feng stood there very calmly from the beginning to the end. Only when the dagger was less than 1 centimeter away from his neck, he quickly stretched out his hand and clamped the edge of the dagger with 2 fingers. How is this possible? The man in black's voice was full of panic. He wanted to regain his dagger and attack again, but unfortunately he had no chance. Xu Feng snatched his dagger, and then slapped it lightly. The man in black was sent flying dozens of meters away, and fell to the ground like a piece of rags. As soon as the figure moved, Xu Feng had already appeared in front of the man in black lying on the ground. You are, Grandmaster, Master, poof. The man in black spat out a mouthful of blood as he spoke. Xu Feng slowly lowered his body, fixed his eyes on the man in black, and said in a cold and emotionless voice, "Who are you and why did you kill me? If I die, I won't say it." Xu Feng screamed in his heart that it was not good, and quickly stretched out his hand to grab the man in black's chin, but it was too late. A stream of black blood slowly flowed out from the corner of the man's mouth, and he had lost all breath. He actually committed suicide by taking poison. Is there such a killer organization in modern society? Xu Feng was full of confusion. The man in black who attacked him was at least not weaker than Yan Kong last time, and he should have a great internal strength. It's a pity that the man in black is dead, and it is impossible to ask who ordered him to kill him. Xu Feng shook his head, but although the man in black committed suicide by taking poison, he still had his own palm prints and fingerprints on his body. If he left the corpse alone, he might be in trouble. He looked around and found that this section of the road was very delicate. There were no cameras within, meters, and no pedestrians were seen. It should be that the man in black deliberately chose this section of the monitoring blind spot and wanted to attack him, but he was killed instead. Without surveillance and pedestrians, it would be much easier to dispose of the corpse. Xu Feng she unfolded the flame dragon palm and directly incinerated the body of the man in black, leaving only a puddle of dust on the spot. Chapter 103 Trading with a Local Tyrant. Back home, Xu Feng couldn't calm down for a long time. The assassin who met him today used a traditional weapon. What if a killer uses a gun secretly in the future? He originally thought that the real world was absolutely safe, because Huaxia's control is very strong. Whether it's guns or dark forces, it's not in the right place, let alone blatantly committing murder. But now it seems that he is still too naive. Judging from some recent events, the world hidden under normal life is definitely more complicated than most people imagine. There are not only warriors who can cultivate inner strength, but also killers who are not afraid of death. Ordinary people can't touch these things, but once they reach a certain level, it's hard not to touch them. It seems that I can't be too careless in the real world in the future. There is no absolute safety in this world. Xu Feng felt that the first thing he needed was to change a house. Living in the current rental house was not only unsafe, but it might affect other people in the community in the future. He made up his mind to change to a villa with a quiet environment, but he gave all the money he bought last time to buy the shares of the Song Group, and he only had less than 200 million left. After thinking about it, I feel that it is better to sell the gold in the portable space as soon as possible, because there are still many places where money will be used in the future. However, the country can no longer accommodate such a large amount of gold, so it can only turn its attention to overseas. He didn't know anyone overseas, but he thought that Liu Dadan, as a big boss, might have connections, so he made up his mind. So he went directly to Liu Dadan the next day. When Liu Dadan saw Xu Feng visiting, he warmly entertained him. After exchanging pleasantries, Xu Feng directly stated the purpose of his trip. Boss Liu, I'm here to ask you to do me a favor this time. I have a batch of gold that needs to be sold. Do you have any connections overseas, Boss Liu? Although it is right not to disclose wealth, certain risks still have to be taken. Liu Dadan frowned and thought for a while, thinking in his mind that since Xu Feng's gold was going to be sold overseas, either the amount was huge, or there was a problem with the source. But he also started from Hideo back then, and only started to clean up in recent years, so he will not have any prejudice against these things. Moreover, he had seen Xu Feng's ability in his heart, and he had long wanted to win over Xu Feng. After thinking hard for a long time, he suddenly slapped his thigh and said, "Yes, Mr. Xu, I really thought of such a way." "Oh? I would like to hear the details." Xu Feng's eyes lit up. "It's like this. I did overseas trade for a period of time in my early years, and I met a lot of people." Liu Dadan thought about it, but the only person who is able to buy gold and is interested in gold should be someone from Saudi Arabia that I know. Rich, I can introduce you to each other. Saudi tycoons. Xu Feng rubbed his chin, thinking that Saudi Arabia got rich because of oil. It seems that many people really love gold, and some even use pure gold to build gold sports cars. Then I will trouble you, Boss Liu. What's the matter? Liu Dadan laughed. Mr. Xu, you are my savior, and I should help you. Then I'll go first. If you have any news, Boss Liu, please let me know. A few days later, Liu Dadan called Xu Feng and said that the deal had been settled. His Saudi friend was very interested in gold, but he asked Xu Feng to go to Saudi Arabia to make a deal. Xu Feng thought for a while, but did not refuse. Although Saudi Arabia is located in the Middle East, the country is still very stable, and there should be no danger. Liu Dadan applied for a Saudi business visa for Xu Feng, and asked Xu Feng to go to Saudi Arabia in the name of his company, so as to deceive the public as much as possible. 2 days later, Xu Feng flew to Saudi Arabia by plane with a translator that Liu Dadan specially hired for him. Originally, Liu Dadan was curious about how Xu Feng would transport the gold to Saudi Arabia, but unexpectedly, Xu Feng just smiled mysteriously and said that as long as people passed by, Liu Dadan didn't get to the bottom of it. Speaking of it, this can be regarded as Xu Feng's first time abroad. The plane flew directly to Saudi Arabia, and finally arrived after more than 20 hours of flying. This Saudi friend of Liu Dadan is an absolute rich man who made his fortune by selling oil, and he has already sent someone to wait for Xu Feng at the airport. The car that the other party drove to pick up Xu Feng turned out to be a Rolls-Royce Phantom, a streamlined car that showed its great charm. The car dealership is on Saudi Street. Xu Feng looked out the window and saw luxury cars like rain. Even the taxis were BMWs. The country's local tyrants were undoubtedly exposed. The car drove to a building with a height of, floors, and the whole building belonged to the rich man. Take the elevator to the top floor and meet the legendary local tyrant in the office. Xu Feng talked with the other party through the accompanying interpreter, and immediately proceeded with a transaction after confirming the scene. The rich man had already prepared appraisers. Xu Feng was introduced by Liu Dadan. He was actually quite at ease, but he was curious about where Xu Feng's so-called gold was. In fact, Xu Feng didn't really want to expose his special ability in front of outsiders, but in the case of gold trading, he had no choice. If he didn't use his portable space, it can be said that his gold would not be able to leave the country at all. With a thought, 10 large boxes appeared in the office, and Xu Feng took out all the gold. Although he didn't tell the local tyrant about the amount of gold in advance, after seeing the local tyrant's luxury car and this building, Xu Feng is not worried that he can't afford his own gold. On the other side, the Saudi tycoon suddenly saw the special ability displayed by Xu Feng. He and several appraisers around him knelt down on the spot with excited expressions, facing out a window, praying, muttering some languages that Xu Feng could not understand. Xu Feng asked the translator and found out that they were thanking Allah for the miracle. I was speechless for a while, thinking that when my space ability will become a miracle of your great Allah, but Xu Feng will definitely not say these words. He still respects other people's beliefs. After praying, the local tycoon in Saudi Arabia and several appraisers looked at Xu Feng with more awe. Xu Feng thought to himself that this was a good thing. In this way, this local tyrant should not dare to cheat himself. Those appraisers took the instruments and started to praise. After spending more than an hour, the identification was completed and it was confirmed that all of them were real gold. The Saudi tycoon was very satisfied, so he just made a phone call, and the people from the branch of Citibank in Saudi Arabia came to serve directly. They helped Xu Feng apply for a Citibank card, and the local tyrant immediately called Xu Feng in full according to the previously agreed amount. Holding the black card in his hand, there is now a balance of more than $1 million. Xu Feng returned satisfied, thinking that doing business with local tyrants is so refreshing. Chapter 104 Awakening Dao Mind. After returning to China, the first thing Xu Feng did was to choose a villa in Jiangchen. The location is not on the wealthy area of the city, but in a detached villa in the suburbs. Xu Feng made this choice on purpose. In fact, he still likes to stay away from the crowd in his heart. After buying a house, of course the car can't be left behind. Xu Feng bought the most common domestic car, by the way. After all, he still likes to keep a low profile. Once everything was settled, he started moving, which became easy with a portable space. Everything was done in one day, and although the rental period of the rented house had not yet expired, Xu Feng didn't bother to go to the landlord to refund the money. After moving, he only told Tang Xining the address of his new home. After finishing all this, Xu Feng lay on the sofa in the lobby of the new villa. His thoughts were flying, and he began to feel a little confused. As for why you are confused, it is because of the ultimate proposition of human beings. Because Xu Feng suddenly discovered that he had unintentionally solved the things that ordinary people pursue for a lifetime: cars and houses. Originally, if he didn't get a mobile phone system, Xu Feng thought that he would become one of the ordinary people, running around every day to survive, and spending his youth in order to buy a house in a big city. But with a system, these things are suddenly realized so easily for him. So what will he do in his next life? It was so painful for him to be dumped by Ye Xiner at the beginning, but now thinking about it, it was just passing by, and he no longer blames her in his heart. It doesn't matter whether you forgive me or not, it's just that I have grown up. Although I have only left the campus for less than half a year, many things can undergo fundamental changes. As long as you stay on campus for a day and don't face real life for a day, you will have many unrealistic ideals and fantasies. Xu Feng knew that he was actually the kind of person with the most ideals and fantasies, and what Yan Chiksha said at the beginning was not wrong. But since breaking up with Ye Xiner, getting the system, and experiencing a series of things in the different world and the real world, Xu Feng has gradually understood some things. I understand, but it doesn't mean that I will do that, but everyone has the right to choose their own life. Ye Xiner, Of course she also has the right to choose to leave her, whether it is for a better life or for any other reason. The past love and youth are gone, in exchange for my own growth. Maybe this is the price of growth? But forgiving Ye Xiner was one thing, but Xu Feng could never forgive Song Xianhu. The world is dominated by the weak and the strong. For people like Song Xianhu who are born aloft, there are very few ordinary people in their eyes, as if other people's failures and poverty are due to not working hard. It's a pity that many things in the world cannot be solved with one effort. The unspoken rules hidden under the world are the real rules by which the world operates. Since Song Xianhu regards himself as a thorn in the side, he can basically be sure that the killer a few days ago was for him. To this kind of enemy, Xu Feng will not have any kindness. This may be another lesson taught him by his experience in another world. Period. It's just that Xu Feng knew that it would be a matter of time to deal with Song Xianhu, and he would be able to deal with him soon. This is not the reason for others to live. Xu Feng let his thoughts continue to wander, lying in this villa that belonged to him, and no one would disturb him. What is the purpose of living, without the pressure of survival? How can human beings use their lives? This proposition is the ultimate philosophical proposition, and Xu Feng knew that he could not solve it by thinking about it for a few days. But Xu Feng felt that he had a general direction vaguely, that is to use the ability to travel through countless worlds, and after experiencing the lives of others in countless worlds, he slowly came to his own understanding of the universe of life. Of course, the premise of all this is that one's own life is infinitely long, so that one can have time to complete this task and explore the ultimate mystery of life in the universe. So after sorting out his thoughts, Xu Feng made clear his future path. That is to keep getting stronger until the goal of immortality is achieved. Eternal life is the basis for accomplishing everything. Congratulations to the host for successfully awakening the Dao heart, and has officially met the conditions to become the God's chosen one. Xu Feng was startled by the system sound that suddenly appeared in his mind. It took me a while to come back to my senses, thinking that I was just sorting out my life direction in a boring afternoon. How did I awaken my Taoism? What does the chosen one mean? There were a lot of questions in his head, and before he could ask them, the system had already understood his thoughts. I will answer the host's questions one by one. First of all, Daoism is a necessary condition for becoming a God's chosen. The host was just a candidate for the God's chosen before. It was not until the moment of awakening Daoism that you, the host, truly became a God's chosen. Without awakening your Dao heart, no matter how many abilities you gain, you will only be an ordinary person. Xu Feng half understood what he heard, and asked aloud, then why did I awaken my Daoism just now? At the moment when you, the host, decided to pursue eternal life and explore the truth of the universe. Xu Feng was stunned for a while, and asked again, then what does God's chosen mean? And what's the matter with you, the system? God's chosen one, as the name suggests, is a person chosen by God. There is only one supreme God in all the heavens and all realms of the universe, representing the will of the universe and maintaining the operation of all the heavens and all realms. It is a pity that the last supreme God has fallen due to inexplicable reasons. After his death, his divine sense split into 8,000 avatars, scattered all over the universe. And I am one of his clones of the 8,000 ways of divine sense. What? Xu Feng was directly confused by the system's words, and his brain was not enough. The system he had always thought was actually one of the avatars of the supreme God of the universe. Doesn't that mean it has its own consciousness? Although I am one of the divine thoughts of the last supreme God, I have no self-awareness. What I told you is just data stored in my system. No way, Xu Feng said suspiciously, you really don't have your own independent consciousness. The data show that after the fall of the supreme God, the will of the universe erased his independent consciousness and his divine thoughts. Now I should be a bridge that can communicate with the will of the universe and help the chosen one become the next supreme God system. It's so complicated and a headache. Xu Feng forced himself to sort out the information, and slowly, he got some key points. The supreme God of the universe fell and turned into 8,000 ways of mindless spiritual system, which means that there are still 8,000 people in the universe who have obtained the same system as themselves. The chosen one is the candidate for the next supreme God, which means that the future supreme God of the universe will be born among the 8,000 chosen ones. The host understands correctly. Then now that I have awakened my Daoism and know that I am the God's chosen one, will it be any different from before? Xu Feng asked curiously. There is no difference, just inform the host of your situation. You have to work harder, The stars and the sea are waiting for you. Thanks to Alex MCK, Dream Awakening Dragon Soul, Wu Tuan Flower in front of the door, Yizhu, I love Shuangwen and Niu people for their rewards. Recommend a friend's work. The whole universe is my friend, and another friend's book. I have a land in the Shang dynasty. Chapter 105. Awakened Dao Heart and became God's chosen one. Although it will continue as usual in the days to come, nothing seems to have changed. But Xu Feng knew that his mentality had changed. From now on, he has a clear goal, and now he has figured out the origin of the inexplicably extra mobile phone system because of a lightning strike. As one of the 8,000 divine sense avatars of the Supreme God, the system is definitely his eternal guide and partner in the future. As for whether he will compete for the highest position in the future, Xu Feng doesn't know, but he must become stronger and live longer, that's for sure. Host, come on, the world hidden under the superficial world is waiting for you to discover. The system said plainly again. The apparent world? The hidden world. Xu Feng was full of doubts. Brother system, what are you referring to? No comment, you need to explore by yourself. Xu Feng had no choice but to be speechless. He took out his mobile phone and checked his character status. He saw that the experience column was 7,626 10,000, which was 2,374 experience points away from being promoted to another level. At present, the only way to upgrade is to practice Kung Fu. Law. Among the exercises, only Dao Weiju, 10%, and Kaiankan borrowing method, 5%, can be improved. However, according to Xu Feng's own understanding, Kaiankan borrowing method belongs to the part of using magic power, which can increase combat power, but the realm cannot be raised. And Dao Weiju is a basic exercise. If you accelerate it through the system, you can get experience points and let yourself rise to another level. Although through self-cultivation, the progress of the technique can be slowly improved, but it is too slow after all. Compared with spending a lot of time and energy sitting hard, Xu Feng would rather use the system currency to upgrade. With the time saved, go to various worlds to slowly earn system currency, which is more interesting than penance. After clicking on Dao Weiju, the system's bid will automatically appear on the top. Upgrading to 100% actually requires 40,000 system coins. The system coins required for other progress are calculated according to the percentage. Faced with this huge astronomical figure, Xu Feng was also shocked. Dao Weiju is already considered the most basic method of self-cultivation, but even so, the system currency it needs is one higher than that of martial arts. Magnitude. Xu Feng saw that his system currency balance was displayed as 12,912. Originally, system currency could be used to buy a new app lucky draw opportunity, but after the draw, the remaining system currency was not enough to do other things. Thinking of the 3 apps that have been unlocked so far, if they are used well, it is enough to greatly improve their own strength. Xu Feng temporarily put down the idea of unlocking new apps. After some deliberation, I finally spent 5,250 system coins to upgrade the progress of Dao Weiju to 25%. At the same time, the system also sent out a reminder, gain experience value plus 6,520, enter the innate early stage. The improvement of strength is not just a change in the data in the system, in reality Xu Feng's body will also be transformed by the system. Sure enough, following the sound of the system, a spatial fluctuation appeared above the villa, and a vortex of spiritual energy appeared in the living room. The spiritual energy poured into Xu Feng's body continuously, and it started to run automatically according to certain rules, and Xu Feng didn't need to worry about everything at all. He just felt like soaking in a hot spring all over his body. It was warm and very comfortable. The whole process lasted for about 2 hours. When the aura dissipated, Xu Feng felt that he had been reborn, and he could feel the endless power contained in his body whenever he clenched his fist casually. Obviously, this change is due to the system using some unknown power of law in the real world to forcibly enhance Xu Feng's strength. Xu Feng was a little worried. In the novels he read before, it seemed that this kind of external power upgrade method of empowerment would eventually lead to instability of the Dao Foundation. Do you have this problem yourself? No, the host's current strength is low, and this simple level of improvement has no effect, which means that there will be no side effects. Hearing the guarantee from the system, Xu Feng was relieved. After finishing all this, he opened the character information interface again to check. Name, Xu Feng. Sex, male. Age, 21. Grade, innate early stage experience, 4146/50000 system coin. 7662 skills, Xixia divine art, 100%, Yanlong palm, 100%, Dao Weiju, 25%, borrowing the universe, 5%, unlock app, WeChat, Kidian reading, Xiaomi video. Xu Feng is still very satisfied with all of this, everything is improving steadily and is under control. In the following days, Xu Feng started to enjoy his vacation, completely relax his body and mind, and make full physical and mental preparations for the next world travel. During the vacation, Xu Feng was also paying attention to the things he had given to Fang Licken. For the song group, Xu Feng already had a complete plan in mind, and among them, getting Fang Licken to buy the stocks of the song group's retail investors was a very important part. He believes that as long as the first step of buying stocks goes well, all subsequent plans to deal with the song group will be easily launched. Fang Licken's feedback to him was that everything went well so far, but in order not to attract attention, he could only purchase on a small scale, and it would take about half a year to spend all of Xu Feng's money. 10 years is not too late for a gentleman to take revenge, but Xu Feng is not in a hurry, he just asked Fang Licken to do it well. In addition, Xu Feng went home again and stayed with his parents for a while. He found that after his parents ate zombie crystals last time, they had no physical discomfort so far, and the two elders said that they seemed to be a few years younger, and they obviously felt more energetic when doing some things. Seeing all this, Xu Feng was completely relieved. He planned to get rare and exotic fruits in another world in the future, and he could continue to try to bring them back to the real world and give them to his parents. Not to mention making them immortal, even if it is just letting them spend more time with me, it is the happiest thing. After returning to Jiangcheng, Xu Feng also went to school to find Tang Shining a few times, but after her graduate school started, she was really busy. She was so busy that she didn't even have time to eat. As soon as she saw Xu Feng, she complained to him about her bad mentor and the uncomfortable things she encountered in her life. Xu Feng listened quietly with a smile. In his heart, he regarded Tang Shining as a good friend, and he was happy to listen to her complaints about these things. After about 2 months like this, Xu Feng felt that he was completely ready, and began to choose the next world to travel through. There are too many domestic and foreign novels, movies and TV series, but perhaps because of cultural reasons, unless necessary, Xu Feng always tends to choose Chinese film and television dramas and novels first. After a period of deliberation and considering various factors, Xu Feng finally decided on the next world. P.S. I recommend a friend's work The Age of Worms, which is a mind-blowing article. You can read it if you are interested. Chapter 106 Entering Lingayan Grotto. The next world that Xu Feng determined as a TV series, Fengai Angshan dominates the world. Although this TV series is still in the category of martial arts, the various skills and tricks in it, as well as rare treasures, etc., are strictly speaking considered low-level immortal martial planes, especially in the later stages, where dragons, phoenixes, and unicorns even appeared mythical beast. Combined with his current level of strength, Xu Feng finally decided to choose it. As in the usual time travel, Xu Feng has also made full preparations in advance. Now his 2 cubic meters of portable space are completely empty, and he can carry enough things, and he is not short of money. Things in the modern world may sometimes play a role in a different world. Xu Feng prepared everything he could think of. After everything was done, standing in the villa room, the phone displayed, "Do you want to spend 5,500 system coins to enter Fengayan world?" After pressing confirm, the familiar spatial fluctuations appear, and the person disappears into the room. When he reappeared, Xu Feng found himself beside a main road, with no village in front of him, no shop behind, and no one in the field. After watching for a while, I chose a direction at random and walked along the main road, and I always found a place with people. Not long after, there was a sound of horseshoes behind him. Those horses were coming so fast. Xu Feng just heard the sound and turned his head to see that the horses weren't already behind him. "Get out of the way, do you want to die?" Immediately, one of them cursed, and whipped towards Xu Feng. Xu Feng easily reached out and grabbed the whip, and along the way, the man on the horse wailed and was pulled off the horse. After this accident happened, those people who were in a hurry turned their horses around one after another and surrounded Xu Feng in the center. Xu Feng squinted his eyes and looked around, and saw that the people on the horseback were all wearing red jackets, black night trousers, and the clothes were the same. It seemed that they belonged to a gang. "Who are you? How dare you hurt someone from our Xiangxiahu? Please report your name." One of them, who looked like a little boss, yelled at Xu Feng. "The world will." Xu Feng thought to himself that it was a coincidence. As soon as he entered this world, he met people from the Xiangxiahu, glanced at the crowd, and already had an idea in his heart. As soon as the figure moved, he was caught off guard. Although there were more than a dozen people in Xiangxiahu, they were all knocked down by Xu Feng in the blink of an eye. Everyone else was knocked unconscious by Xu Feng, only the little leader was injured and fell to the ground. Seeing Xu Feng walking towards him, he said in horror, You are too bold, you dare to hurt the people of the Xiangxiahu, you are dead." "Really?" Xu Feng smiled lightly. "Don't be afraid, I won't kill you, I just want to ask you something. As for your subordinates, they are only in a temporary coma. I don't think you want them to hear you leak. The world will keep it secret." What do you want to ask?" The little boss was obviously relieved when he heard that Xu Feng would not kill him. "Where are you going in such a hurry?" Xu Feng said lightly. "This." The little boss hesitated, but when he saw the fierce light flashing in Xu Feng's eyes, he hurriedly said, "I said, we were ordered to go to support Hall Master Bu, and he was about to lead people to eliminate the 10 sects. Eliminate the 10 sects." Xu Feng murmured, already having a judgment in his mind. In other words, Xiongba's 3 major disciples are still in Xiangxiahu. Then, of course, the little boss swallowed. The 3 hall masters are reused by the sect master to conquer the city and seize the territory. Sooner or later, the entire martial arts world will be ours, he said with a gleam of pride in his eyes. It's a pity that the next moment, he only felt black in front of his eyes, and he had completely lost consciousness. Xu Feng got the information he wanted, got up and snatched a horse from Xiangxiahu, and headed towards the other direction of the road. From the little boss's answer just now, Xu Feng can already judge the current plot point. It should be the time when the 3 disciples, Qin Shuang, Bu Jingyan, and Nai Feng, are helping Xiongba to conquer the world. Neither the wind nor the cloud betrayed the Xiangxiahu at this time, and everything was still the best time at the beginning. Based on the existing information, Xu Feng quickly made various judgments in his mind. Coming to Fengyan world, Xu Feng's first goal is the blood Bodhi in Lingyan Grotto. This blood Bodhi is an extraordinary fruit born from the blood of a unicorn dripping on the ground. It grows in the Lingyan cave under the Lashan giant Buddha. In the play, Nai Feng was caught by Duanlang's trick and was seriously injured and trapped in Lingyan Grotto. It was only after he got the blood Bodhi that he healed his injuries and his skill greatly increased. Now that Nai Feng has not betrayed Xiangshui, the blood Bodhi in Lingyan Grotto should still be there. Xu Feng had an idea in his mind and decided to go to Lingyan Grotto to get the blood Bodhi first. After riding a horse for half a day, I arrived in a small town. It was getting late, and I rested for a night after eating and drinking. The next day, after asking the direction of the Lashan giant Buddha, Xu Feng started to head towards it. Running non-stop, and when resting on the road, Xu Feng also kept an eye on the developments in the Jianghu. It's just that most of the news I've heard is related to Xiongba's 3 major disciples. The 3 of them attack the city and loot the land for Xiongba, and the world will be in the limelight for a while. But these have nothing to do with Xu Feng for the time being. After a month of rushing, he finally arrived at the Lashan giant Buddha. Looking at the huge Buddha statue in front of you, it is located at the confluence of Qingyi River, Dadu River and Menjiang River. The head of the Buddha is as high as the mountain. Looking up at it makes people feel their own insignificance. After viewing it for a while, Xu Feng began to look for the legendary Lingyan Grotto, and after a while, he found it next to the knee of the Buddha. The shape of the cave is square, and it seems that there are traces of man-made excavation. Outside the cave, there are 2 stone tablets. They read Nairen Kuang's tomb of Bian Kuangdao and Nanlin Giant Xiao Duan Shui respectively. These 2 are the fathers of Nai Feng and Duanlang. Both died in Lingyan Grotto. The fire is fierce on the top of the Nanshan mountain, and the deep snow and cold water dive in the North Sea. The 2 great heroes who are known in the north and south of the country, both died tragically at the hands of Ho Kilin, which cannot but make people sigh. Just looking at the tombstones of these 2 people, Xu Feng suddenly woke up and realized that his thinking about taking blood to Bodhi was a bit too simple. Blood Bodhi is in Lingyan Grotto, guarded by Ho Kilin. If you want to get it, you may have to risk your life. But after running around for a month, Xu Feng didn't want to give up all his previous efforts, and tried his best to recall the plot in his mind. He remembered a nursery rhyme in the play: water floods the knees of the Buddha and burns the Lingayen cave, which means that only when the river floods the knees of the Buddha, the fire unicorn will appear. And now is not the time to flood the Buddha's knees. Maybe the fire unicorn will not appear? Xu Feng felt that he could give it a go, and after some weighing, he finally decided to go in and take a look, and if he really met the whole Qilin, he would quickly escape. Walking into the cave, I saw that the air was abnormally dry, and there seemed to be no trace of moisture, and the more I walked in, the hotter my body felt. Walking in fearfully, the long Quan sword was also held tightly in Xu Feng's hand. Chapter 107. The terrain in Lingayen Grotto is more complicated than imagined. There are many forks in the caves. After walking for a while, Xu Feng found that he was about to get lost. I had no choice but to mark every fork with a sword. After walking for about half an hour, I suddenly felt a heat wave ahead, and a fiery red faintly appeared in the entire passage. Xu Feng yelled in his heart that something was wrong. Without any hesitation, he turned his head and ran towards the way he came from. A monstrous pressure was approaching constantly behind him, and he didn't look back at all along the way. He ran out of Lingayen Grotto in one breath, and when he looked back, he saw a ball of flames gushing out of the cave. A pair of eyes were hidden in the flames, staring deeply at Xu Feng, full of threats and warnings. It's a pity that it seemed to have some scruples. It didn't dare to go out of Lingayen Cave, and finally faded with the flames. Xu Feng didn't heave a sigh of relief until it disappeared completely, but found that his whole body was covered in cold sweat. The fire unicorn is worthy of being one of the 4 great beasts. Ordinary people have no power to resist it. This is troublesome. I didn't expect the fire unicorn to appear at ordinary times. To obtain the blood bodhi, I'm afraid I can't do it alone. Xu Feng frowned and thought hard for a long time, and found that there was probably only one way to get the blood bodhi, and that was to borrow the hands of Nifeng. Nifeng is the protagonist of Fengayan World. Since he can successfully obtain the blood bodhi in the play, as long as he uses his aura as the protagonist, he should be able to succeed as well. If you want Nifeng to help, of course, you can only approach him first, build a good relationship with him, or even become a good friend. It's just that Nifeng is still in the Xiangxiahu at this time, so if he wants to get close to him, he can only find a way to sneak into the Xiangxiahu. Xu Feng knew that it would be very difficult to mix into the world. Xiongba is suspicious, and it is his character that he would rather let the world down than let the world down on him. Duanlang is the best proof. As a child who was brought back to Xiangxiahu by Xiongba together with Nifeng, his background is no worse than Nifeng's, but because he is a beginner in art, the encounter with Nifeng has always been very different. Nifeng became Xiongba's direct disciple, and then became the hall master of the Shenfeng Hall, the 3 main halls of the Xiangxiahu. From this, we can see Xiongba's cronyism and absolute suspicion. It can even be said that the only thing he really believes in is himself. But no matter how difficult it is, in order to get the blood bodhi, Xu Feng knew that he had to go. Looking at the Lashan giant Buddha for the last time, he murmured in his heart, "I will come back again." Leaving Lashan, Xu Feng headed all the way to the main rudder of Xiangxiahu. Apart from rushing along the way, what was in my mind was to join the Xiangxiahu with my identity. Going directly to the door to join is the most unfeasible, not to mention the Xiangxiahu. Any sect will not accept a person who comes to join inexplicably. Xiangxiahu is the same as all martial arts sects. Its disciples are cultivated from an early age, and outsiders will never have the opportunity to join the association midway. Of course there is one exception, that is to join. Now Xiongba is eliminating one sect after another in order to win the world of martial arts. In addition, of course there will be many sects who voluntarily surrendered, and the members of these sects who surrendered can barely be regarded as members of the Xiangxiahu. But after careful consideration, Xu Feng gave up on this plan, because he found that even if he joined Xiangxiahu in this way, he would still be an outsider, and it was impossible for him to get in touch with Nifeng. In addition to this road, Xu Feng thought that in the play, apart from the disciples and the congregation, the Xiangxiahu also had maids and servants who specially served the 3 hall masters. For such a large Xiangxiahu to take care of everyone's daily life, the number of people needed is definitely quite a lot. Although these servants were cultivated from childhood, most of them still had to be recruited from outside. Xu Feng felt that it was the most suitable choice to mix into Xiangxiahu as a servant. Walking all the way, I finally arrived at the place where the Xiangxiahu was located. The sect of Xiangxiahu was built on Xianshan Mountain, the highest among the mountains of Xianan City. After arriving in Xianan City, Xu Feng stayed and waited for an opportunity in the city. But after staying for a while, he didn't wait until the world would recruit people. As a last resort, Xu Feng could only use some extreme means. From time to time, some people will come to Xianan City to purchase the supplies needed for the food and clothing of the people in the Xiangxiahu. After a period of latent observation, Xu Feng has already figured out the regularity of the purchasers. On this day, when the 4 servants of Xiangxiahu went down the mountain to purchase again, Xu Feng appeared masked on their way back to the mountain. The 4 servants were shocked when Xu Feng blocked the way, and one of them tremblingly said, "You, who are you? You dare to stop us with your eyes down in the world, don't you want to live? I want you to leave Xiangxiahu." Xu Feng said lightly. "Leave? Are you kidding me?" The person who spoke felt that this was at the foot of Xiangxiahu mountain, and he became more confident. "We all rely on Xiangxiahu to work and support our family. It is absolutely impossible to leave." "Really?" Xu Feng's voice was cold and emotionless. "I will give you 2 choices, either leave immediately, or I will kill you." As Xu Feng said, he took out 4 ingots of silver from his portable space, 20 taels each, and threw them to the 4 of them. "If you agree to leave, the money will be yours." Those 4 people held the silver with surprise on their faces. 20 taels of silver was an absolute huge amount of money for ordinary people. They know how to do things in the world, and their annual income is less than 1 tael of silver. "If you don't agree, then I have no choice but to do it," Xu Feng said with flames lingering in his hands, releasing a powerful coercion. The servants knelt down in fright, kowtowed to Xu Feng a few times, turned around and ran away without hesitation. Xu Feng returned to Xianan City satisfied. Sure enough, within a few days, a notice was posted in the city that the Xiangsha Association wanted to recruit 4 handymen. It was obvious that the 4 servants escaped, and only the 4 pits were vacated. According to the time on the notice, Xu Feng came to the back door of Xiangxiahu on time, and people came one after another. When the time came, more than a dozen people came to apply for the job. Xu Feng was surprised, thinking that being a servant of the Xiangxiahu seems to be a very attractive job for ordinary people. The person in charge of selecting the servants was actually Wen Chaochu, who was in charge of the logistics affairs of the Xiangxiahu. He was holding a huge fan in his hand, and his face was smeared with thick powder, looking neither male nor female. The selection process is very complicated. Not only will everyone be asked about their family background, but someone will also test whether the candidates know martial arts. Before Xu Feng came, he had already made preparations. His clothes were changed into old and patched clothes, and his hair was messed up. When Wen Chaochu asked him about his origin, Xu Feng said that he was an orphan who had no parents since he was a child. He has been wandering and begging for a living, hoping that the world will reward him with food. When testing martial arts, Xu Feng also tried his best to pretend that he didn't know any martial arts. In the end, after many difficulties and superb acting skills, Xu Feng stood out from the crowd and was selected as one of the 4 servants. Thanks to fate comes and ends, falling leaves flying dance, and 3 nine-tailed foxes for their rewards. Chapter 108. Xu Feng thought that after being recruited into the Xiangxiahu, he would also be assigned to purchase work, but in the end Wen Chaochu arranged for him to sweep the floor. That's right, the current Xu Feng has become a sweeper in Xiangxiahu. Xu Feng thought to himself that although he was not as powerful as the Shaolin floor-sweeping monk, he was not an ordinary person. Sure enough, every floor sweeper should not be taken lightly. Xu Feng is also quite satisfied with the work of sweeping the floor. Compared with purchasing, this work is more conducive to his actions. After a period of adaptation, Xu Feng gradually became acquainted with some handymen and servants in Xiangxiahu. After all, everyone had the same identity and lived in the same courtyard. After getting acquainted with him, Xu Feng found that among the male handymen, Duan Lang was the most popular one, and the general servants were vaguely headed by him. After Xu Feng analyzed it, he found that the reason for this was that Duan Lang's martial arts were the best among the handymen. When those handymen were bullied and despised by formal disciples, they could find some comfort from Duan Lang. This kind of comfort is more of a kind of spiritual self-paralysis, a bit similar to Aku's self-spiritual victory method. They feel that they are not without masters, and then they can face bullying calmly, although this will not change them at all own weakness. Among the maidservants, there is no doubt that Kongxi is the leader of everyone. She is gentle and kind, and she grew up with the three hall masters, Shuang, Yun, and Feng, and now she even personally serves the three hall masters food in daily life, all of which make her status faintly different from ordinary maids. Xu Feng knew that these two were key figures, and Duanlang was Nai Feng's best friend in the early stage, so it was a good way to get to know Nai Feng through Duanlang. And Kongxi was adopted as a righteous daughter by Xiongba later, and Feng Guiyan broke up because of her, which is the key among the key points. After making up his mind, Xu Feng approached Duanlang first. Xu Feng, who has watched TV dramas, has enough understanding of Duanlang's character. Duanlang in the early stage is actually not bad. His process of becoming evil is a step-by-step development. Duanlang is a horse servant in Xiangxiahu, and his main task is to take care of and feed the horses of Xiangxiahu. After Xu Feng finished sweeping the ground that day, he came to the stable where Duanlang worked. Unexpectedly, Duanlang was found lying on the broken wooden bed in the stable, drinking alone, looking frustrated. Xu Feng approached slowly, and as soon as he reached the door of the stable, he was discovered by Duanlang. Who? Duanlang glanced at Xu Feng with a hint of drunkenness on his face. Haha, I'm new here not long ago. I heard brothers say that you are our pride. I've been thinking about visiting you for a long time. Today I'm free. It may be that he has experienced more worlds and often plays characters of various identities. Xu Feng feels that his acting skills have improved rapidly, and he is not far behind the level of a movie king. These words come at his fingertips. New here. Duanlang smiled. It's just right, come and drink with me. Of course Xu Feng would not refuse, sharing a jar of wine with Duanlang. You come and go, and drink. When men drink wine, the relationship will naturally become much closer. Duanlang was already a little drunk, but after drinking for a while, he grabbed Xu Feng and confided his thoughts. Duanlang is the son of Nanlin Jian Shao. My birth is no worse than anyone else's. I have worked harder than anyone else. Why? Why can I only be a horse servant, while Nai Feng, he has become Xiongba's direct disciple, and become the master of the Kamikaze Hall. In the words, what was revealed was his envy and jealousy towards Nai Feng, a good friend. It is no wonder that Duanlang's psychology is unbalanced and distorted. However, Xu Feng knew that what led to all this could be said to be a comment from the clay bodhisattva that year. Gold Lin Key is a thing in a pond, and it will transform into a dragon when it encounters a storm. Because of this prophecy, there is such a huge difference in the encounters of wind and waves. But Xu Feng didn't intend to tell Duanlang about this. After all, his current identity is just a sweeper, so knowing too much would be suspicious. Brother Duan, drink. Xu Feng just handed the wine jar to Duanlang. After Duanlang took a sip, he continued, there is something even more hateful. The last time the gang publicly selected 3 hall masters, I thought that my day had come, but I didn't expect that in the end, the gang master made me deliberately lose to Bu Jingyan. I am not convinced. Xu Feng thought to himself that he had just met Duanlang for the first time, and he actually said this to himself. It seemed that he was really drunk, and it could be seen that Duanlang was still a young man with no plans at this time. For all of this, Xu Feng listened quietly, did not express any opinions, and just drank with Duanlang. In the days that followed, Xu Feng often went to see Duanlang, and the two gradually became friends who had been drinking. Although this kind of friend is not reliable enough, it is enough to keep warm together. On the other side, Xu Feng approached Kongxi without stopping. However, as a maidservant, Kongxi is not as convenient as Duanlang to get in touch with. But as long as you are willing to study everything, you can find a way and a way. Xu Feng found out that although the kitchen would supply food for the world, sometimes Kongxi would personally go to the kitchen to cook soup for the 3 young masters. That night, when Xu Feng passed the kitchen, he found that there was a light inside again. He gently opened the door and went in, only to see a person seriously looking after the fire with a pot of soup on it. She may have controlled the heat so carefully that she didn't even notice anyone approaching. It wasn't until Xu Feng came to her and looked at her for a long time that she realized Xu Feng's existence. She blushed and said, "Who are you? Why are you here so late?" "My name is Xu Feng, and I'm a servant who just arrived a few days ago." Xu Feng scratched his head. "I happened to pass by the kitchen just now and found a light, so I came in to have a look. I didn't expect it to be Sister Kong Si. You know me? Kong Si asked with wide eyes. Of course, Sister Kong Si, you have a great reputation among the servants. I have heard of your name since I first came here. Xu Feng only thought that Kong Sichin was very cute, much better looking than the ones in TV dramas. By the way, Sister Kong Si, what are you doing here? I'm making soup for young Master Feng. He went out to perform a mission today and came back very late. I'm worried that he will be hungry because he didn't eat. Kong Si is as good as in the original drama. She is extremely kind and has no defense against anyone. Perhaps in her eyes, everyone is a good person. That's it, then let me help you. Xu Feng would not let go of this opportunity to get in touch with her. No need. Unexpectedly, Kong Si refused. Why? Xu Feng thought she was being polite. Sister Kong Si, I'm fine anyway, so I'll help you watch the fire. As Xu Feng said that, he wanted to step forward and pick up the fan to watch the fire. Kong Si stepped forward to stop him, and said with a trace of gratitude on his small face, "Thank you very much for your kindness, but I want to cook soup for Master Feng myself, because the same soup tastes differently when cooked by different people of..." Oh? Is there such a thing? That's right, Kong Si wrapped his hands around his hair, his eyes showed a look of yearning. The process of cooking soup contains all the thoughts of the person who cooks the soup, whether it is the control of the fire or the preparation of the ingredients. Everyone there are differences, which will lead to the difference in the final taste. Well, it seems that cooking soup is very knowledgeable. Looking at Kong Si's appearance, Xu Feng was sure that she had a crush on Ye Feng in her heart. Thanks to Mingyu Dixu and Bahei King Kong for their rewards. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelists. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 109 The Benevolent Ye Feng. Since Kong Si refused to let him help, Xu Feng was ready to retreat. After all, the purpose of getting acquainted with her had been achieved, and it was considered familiar. Sister Kong Si, then I won't bother you, I'm going to sleep first. Well, your name is Xu Feng, right? Thank you. Kong Si smiled softly. Yes, Sister Kong Si, you should go to bed earlier. In the following days, Xu Feng's relationship with Duanlang Kong Si developed steadily through his usual deliberate approach. On this day, Xu Feng went to the stable to find Duanlang to drink again. As soon as Duanlang saw Xu Feng's figure, he jumped up excitedly from the broken wooden bed. Brother Xu, you are finally here. I have been waiting for you for a long time. Haha, Brother Duan, I think you are waiting for my beautiful bar. The two are already brothers, and Xu Feng said that the wine that Duanlang was waiting for him was the last time he tried to take a few bottles of liquor from his portable space and share it with Duanlang. Unexpectedly, when Duanlang tasted it, he was astonished, saying that he had never had such a delicious wine since he was born. It's no wonder that fine wine purified by modern wine-making techniques is indeed much more delicious than the ancient rough-brewed wine, especially for those who drink it for the first time. These wines were also prepared in the portable space before Xu Feng came, but unexpectedly they really came in handy. Brother Xu, do you still have that wine? Duanlang licked his lips and asked. Yes, didn't I bring 2 more bottles? Xu Feng said with a smile. The two started to drink again, and when they were drinking happily, they heard a warm voice from outside the stable. Duanlang, you are here. Following the sound, a young man with loose long hair walked in. His face was so handsome that it was hard to distinguish between men and women. His whole body was suave, with a faint smile on his mouth. When Duanlang saw him, he took a step forward and said, Ye Feng, why are you here? I just want to come and see you. Ye Feng sniffed. Are you drinking? What kind of wine are you drinking? It smells so good. Duanlang smiled, pulled Ye Feng to the broken wooden bed, and said, let me introduce a friend to you. This is my new brother. His name is Xu Feng. As he spoke, he said to Xu Feng who was sitting, Brother Xu, this is Master Feng, the master of our Xiangxiahu. Xu Feng had already observed everything from the sidelines, and he never thought that he would meet Ye Feng by such a coincidence today. This person in front of him is his target person to enter the Xiangxiahu. Master Feng, hello. Xu Feng stood up and saluted. Haha, you're welcome, you and Lang are good brothers, Then we are friends too. Nai Feng smiled warmly, and patted Xu Feng on the shoulder. Besides, we both have Feng in our name, so we are really destined. Don't be too polite, Nai Feng. This is the fine wine brewed by Brother Xu himself. Come and taste it. Duan Lang pulled Nai Feng to sit down. Nai Feng had also smelled the aroma of wine a long time ago. Hearing this, he picked up a bottle and took a sip. He felt that the wine tasted sweet and pungent. Period. Good wine. It's really good wine. I didn't expect Brother Xu to have such a good craftsmanship. Nai Feng praised sincerely. How Master Feng is too much, I learned it by chance from an old beggar. Xu Feng joked. Then the three of them drank happily, chatting casually with each other while drinking. From his speech and behavior, Xu Feng found that Nai Feng was indeed the same as in the play, with a warm and gentle personality, and everyone who came into contact with him would feel comfortable and relaxed. His mother, Yan Ying, is the most beautiful woman in the world, and Nai Feng has inherited this excellent gene perfectly, and is handsome. Not only that, he has a delicate mind. He can subtly perceive the emotions of everyone around him. He will take care of everyone's feelings, and will not embarrass others. No wonder so many women in the play love him and die for him in the end up. The alcohol content was very high. After drinking several bottles, the three of them were now very drunk and fell asleep on the wooden bed. Afterwards, the days went on normally, and Xu Feng met Nai Feng several times at the Broken Wave. On this day, Xu Feng got up early in the morning and together with a few servants, cleaned up and down the Xiangxiahu. It turns out that with the help of three disciples, Qin Shuang, Bu Jingyan, and Nai Feng, the Xiangxiahu has taken down most of the Xiangxiahu, and the only thing that can compete with the Xiangxiahu is Wushuang City. Today is the day when Ye Feng, the lord of Wushuang City, came to the world to form an alliance. After Xu Feng swept the floor, he thought of the original plot. The alliance between Wushuang City and Xiangxiahu ended in failure, and Duan Lang left Xiangxiahu under the instigation of Ye Feng and his son. But these have nothing to do with Xu Feng. The purpose of getting to know Nai Feng through Duan Lang has been achieved, and he will not interfere if Duan Lang wants to go out of the world. After a few days like this, as expected, news spread among the servants that Duan Lang had left the Xiangxiahu and was being hunted down and arrested. Hearing the news, Xu Feng just sighed softly. He understood Duan Lang's choice. After finishing the day's work, he came to the place where Duan Lang was working. Originally he only wanted to miss the days when they drank together. Unexpectedly, Nai Feng was found in the stable, looking devastated. Xu Feng knew that Nai Feng had always regarded Duan Lang as a true friend in his heart, and he should be the saddest person when Duan Lang left. When Nai Feng saw Xu Feng, a wry smile appeared on his face. Brother Xu, why did you say Lang left? I thought he wouldn't. I understand and respect his choice. Xu Feng said softly. But doesn't Lang miss our two friends? Nai Feng's face was full of pain. I grew up with him, and we experienced life and death together in Lingayan Grotto. Master Feng, you should understand that Duan Lang has been in the Xiangxiahu for so many years, and he has not been taken seriously. If he continues to stay in the Xiangxiahu, he may be just a servant for the rest of his life. As friends, we should support his choice, shouldn't we? Nai Feng was taken aback, and murmured, support his choice? But when we meet next time, we will be enemies with him. That's okay, everyone is their own master, as long as he is really happy. Under Xu Feng's enlightenment, Nai Feng also slowly figured it out. I'm too selfish. Lang has been humiliated for so many years. He has been unwilling to leave Xiangxiahu because of me. Nai Feng took a deep breath. Yes, I should understand Lang. He glanced at Xu Feng. Brother Xu, I feel that your insight is extraordinary. Are you willing to sweep the floor for the rest of your life? I'm going to take a step first and take a look. Xu Feng didn't hide anything from Nai Feng. Nai Feng pondered for a while. Well, I'll go talk to Manager Wen tomorrow and transfer you to the Shenfeng Hall. Then, that's really thanks to Master Feng. Xu Feng said with surprise, and things were completely moving in a direction that would benefit him. Chapter 110 The Daughter of Xiongba. Sure enough, the next day, when Chao Chu came to Xu Feng and asked him to only be responsible for the sanitation work of Shenfeng Hall in the future. The scope of Shenfeng Teng is not big, and the work of sweeping the floor is quite easy, and there are more opportunities to meet Nai Feng. Xu Feng can feel that Nai Feng really regards himself as a friend. Not long after Duan Lang betrayed the world, Xiongba summoned Nai Feng alone, asking him to destroy Wusheng City alone and bring back the head of Dugu's side. Wusheng City is famous for its unparalleled sword, which divides yin and yang, and the combination of two swords can display the world's strongest swordsmanship, love in the city. The only disadvantage of this sword technique is that it requires two lovers to perform it together, and it also requires yin and yang swords, otherwise Xu Feng would consider learning it. In the Battle of Wusheng City, Nifeng fell in love with the first woman in his life, Mingyu, but it was also in this battle that Mingyu fell off the cliff and died for him. Xu Feng racked his brains and tried his best to analyze the plot. He wondered if there was any way to prevent Mingyu from dying. Mingyu's death hit Nifeng very hard. If he could find a way to avoid Mingyu's death, then Nifeng would definitely be more grateful to him. Then he would take the opportunity to make a request. With Nifeng's personality, he should not refuse him. It's a pity that after analyzing it for a long time, I found that the plot is intertwined, and I really can't interfere with it. Xu Feng had no choice but to give up such a plan. Nifeng set off for Wusheng City, and brought back Dugu Feng's head a month later, but Nifeng returned to Xiangxia without saying a word, as if he had lost his soul. After half a month, Nifeng came out of his grief. The world will destroy Wusheng City, and finally complete the dominance of martial arts. Xiongba began to think of the criticisms made by the Ni Bodhisattva 10 years ago. He achieved hegemony because of the situation, but he also worried about the rest of his life. So Qin Shuang and Nifeng were ordered to look for the Mud Bodhisattva. The Mud Bodhisattva was successfully found, but no one knew what his criticism to Xiongba was. Except for Xu Feng, who has been a spectator, he has been watching the progress of the plot as an outsider during this time. He found that he can relax physically and mentally without being involved in the plot. His purpose is to go to Lingayan Grotto with Nifeng. Blood Bodhi is his ultimate goal, and he doesn't care about everything else. It's a pity that in the end Xu Feng found out that he could only invite Nifeng to visit the Cloud Cave until Fengyan and Xiongba broke up completely. Otherwise, Nifeng would definitely not agree to such a request. Now that the Mud Bodhisattva has appeared, his comment 9 heavens and dragons chants shocking changes, the wind and the cloud will swim in shallow water, the success is also the wind and the failure is also the wind and the cloud, the break between Xiongba and Fengyan is not far away. During this long waiting time, apart from sweeping the floor quietly and paying attention to the development of the plot, Xu Feng spent the rest of his time practicing Taoism, borrowing the universe. Although he hates cultivation, it is a waste of waiting time not to practice. Practice increases progress, which is equivalent to saving system coins. There is a large lake in the mountain behind Xiangxia, and there is a small island in the center of the lake. The entire small island in the center of the lake is an absolutely forbidden place in the Xiangxia. No one is allowed to enter, even the 3 most trusted disciples of Xiongba don't know what is on the island. At this moment, the head manager Wen Chaochu came to the lake, carrying a basket in his hand, and rode to the island in the middle of the lake alone. When he came to the island, he carried the basket and went up the steps, and soon he saw the pavilions hidden in the shadow of the trees. Entering the pavilion, he waved his fan, twisted his waist and called out, "Miss, Jojo came to see you." Miss. Wen Chaochu walked into the room, but found no one there. He put down the basket and was about to go into the inner room to look for it, but saw a person coming out through the curtain. She is wearing a pleated skirt, with a beautiful headdress on her head. She has a beautiful face, smooth skin, soft hands, affectionate almond eyes, cherry mouth, and a faint nobility all over her body. "Hey, my eldest lady, I haven't seen you for a year, you are so beautiful. What the hell are you doing here?" Such a beautiful person. The first time she opened her mouth, there were swear words that didn't fit her temperament at all. "Miss, Chaochu is here to celebrate your birthday." When Chaochu twisted his waist, opened the basket, and took out a plate of birthday peaches. "Miss, today is your birthday." "Birthday?" There was a sneer at the corner of her mouth. Why didn't he come? "Hey, miss," when Chaochu waved his fan desperately, "the boss is too busy with his work and has no time to come and see you, so he entrusted me to celebrate your birthday, miss." When Chaochu looked at the person in front of him, feeling very distressed, but in fact he was lying, Xiongba didn't remember her birthday at all. "I don't want to eat, you take them all back." "Miss, you'd better eat some." When Chaochu looked embarrassed, "If the boss knows that you haven't eaten, miss, it will kill me." "Really? Yuo smiled wickedly. "That's good, you can eat for me." "Ah, This. Wen Xiaochu hesitated a little. I order you to finish eating within 15 seconds. Yuo suddenly looked terrified. Yes. Yes. Wen Xiaochu's heart trembled, and he quickly picked up the birthday peaches and stuffed them into his mouth. Unfortunately, there were more than a dozen birthday peaches on the plate, and he couldn't finish eating them within 15 seconds. 15, 10, 3, 2, 1. Yuo finished the countdown and saw that Wen Xiaochu still had a lot of food left to eat, so she clapped her hands excitedly and said, "Okay, I will punish you if you didn't finish eating." Wen Xiaochu looked crying, with a birthday peach stuffed in his mouth, and said vaguely, "Miss, how are you going to punish me?" "Hey, I want to give you a painting." "Ah, this can't be regarded as punishment. It is my blessing to get Mrs. Picture," Wen Xiaochu said in surprise. However, after a while, he regretted it, and his earth-shattering screams came from the room. Wen Xiaochu escaped from Huxin Island in embarrassment, came to Yuelao, threw himself at Xiongba's feet, and cried, "Guard master, woo woo woo." Xiongba took a look at Wen Xiaochu, only to see a big turtle drawn with a brush on his face. He couldn't help laughing even though he was always serious. "Xiaochu, what are you doing?" "Guangzhu, it's the eldest lady, woohoo." Yuo. Shuangba's tone carried a sense of remoteness. He was busy fighting for the world recently, so he seldom thought of his daughter. "Yes, Chief." Wen Xiaochu pointed at the orchid. "Today is Missy's birthday, Chief. You haven't seen Missy for a long time." Is Yuo gone? Shuangba was bewildered. On the island in the center of the lake, Xiongba approached gently, and saw his daughter Yuelao sitting on the pavilion by the water, talking to a bird cage in front of him. Little bird, I am trapped in a cage just like you," Yuelao said with a hint of sadness on her face. "None of us is free, although I really want you to accompany me to relieve boredom, but I decided to let you fly." As she spoke, she stretched out her hand and opened the door of the birdcage, and reached out to grab the bird. The bird chirped a few times, and then spread its wings and flew high into the sky. Yuo watched it fly higher and higher until it was out of sight. She suddenly felt that someone was watching her, and when she turned her head, she found a person standing in the distance. Wasn't it the father she had been thinking about day and night? But her stubbornness made her get up and run away quickly. Yuo. Xiongba called out to stop her, and walked forward slowly. Yuo turned his back to him, and said in a cold voice, "What are you doing here? Do you still remember me as a daughter?" Xiongba grabbed his daughter's shoulders and turned her to face him. He found that his daughter had really grown up and become beautiful. "Yuo, I've been busy with helping out recently, so it's my fault that I neglected you." Shuangba showed a rare warm side. "It's not that you ignore me, you don't have my daughter in your heart at all, you only have your world of martial arts in your eyes." Yuo broke away from Xiongba's hand with tears in her voice. "Yuelao, you know I'm not. Why did you let me be trapped here?" Yuo cried. "I want to get out. This is a prison. I don't want to be in prison anymore." Yuo, "I have more and more enemies in the rivers and lakes these years. I let you live on this small island surrounded by water to protect you." Shuangba said sincerely. "I don't want this kind of protection." Yuo lost control of his emotions. "I want to go out. I can protect myself. You let so many martial arts masters teach me martial arts. I can protect myself. Can you let me out?" As Yuo said, she couldn't help but pulled Shuangba's sleeve and begged. She was really afraid of being trapped here, that kind of eternal loneliness. Shuangba's eyes dimmed. He still thought that his daughter was throwing a temper tantrum, but he knew that if he didn't find a good way to deal with it, his daughter would probably not give up. "You said your martial arts can protect yourself." Shuangba stroked his beard. "Then let's make a bet. As long as you win, I promise to give you freedom." "Really?" Yuelo's face was full of joy. This joy came from the depths of her soul. She finally saw a glimmer of hope for freedom. "However, if you lose, you have to promise me that you will never leave Huxin Xiaozu." "Okay, I agree." Yuo didn't hesitate at all. "Okay." Shuangba's eyes flashed. "I want you to choose one of Fengyun and Fengyun, and take their lives within 7 days." "No problem." Although Yuo lives in Huxin Xiaozu, she has heard of Fengyun and Fengyun. Bujingyan claims not to cry death. It's not easy to deal with. I choose Nifeng. Chapter 111. "That's good," Xiongba said, taking out a pill from his bosom. "You take this pill. If you don't complete the task within 7 days, You have to return, and I will give you the antidote, but if I want to take the opportunity to escape, I will die from the poison, right? Yuelao interrupted Xiongba, took the poison from his hand without hesitation, and threw it into his mouth. She has long been used to such a father. Even for her own daughter, he still has to use such tricks to control herself. In the first floor of the world, when Cao Chu held the bed in black and white in his hand, and realized that his brain was not enough, Master, is this true? Of course, Xiongba took a sip of tea. You make arrangements immediately, transfer Kongxi away from Finger, and arrange Yuelao to serve Finger. Yes, it's the leader. Although when Cao Chu was very puzzled, he could only follow orders. Xu Feng still sweeps the floor leisurely every day. Taking advantage of this time, he has actually practiced a universal borrowing method to a small degree, and the progress displayed on the system is 50%. This speed was much faster than he expected. He found that he could be regarded as a genius in terms of cultivation. After all, it took Yan Qiqia 5 full years to cultivate to the same level. Working in Shenfeng Tang, there are more opportunities to get in touch with Kongxi, and the two are already very familiar with each other. Early in the morning, Xu Feng was sweeping the floor, but found Kongxi walking out of Nifeng's room with a lonely expression on his face. Seeing this, he went up to meet him, and asked with concern, "Sister Kongxi, what's wrong with you?" "I'm fine." Kongxi's eyes were a little red, definitely not as she said she was fine. "Sister Kongxi, if you have something to tell me, maybe it will be better if you say it." Kongxi hesitated. "I will never serve Master Feng again." "Ah, why is that?" Xu Feng asked in surprise. "I don't know either. Manager Wen told me early this morning that I should concentrate on serving young Master Yun in the future, and he will send a maidservant who is number 1 in the Xiangxia to serve young Master Feng. The number 1 maidservant in the world." Xu Feng thought about the plot, and it seems that this person should be Xiongba's daughter Yuelao. But Kongxi had a crush on Nifeng in his heart, and was transferred away from his side, so he naturally looked lonely. "Sister Kongxi, I think you really don't want to leave Hall Master Feng's side, so why don't you ask to stay?" Kongxi shook his head with a sad expression. "I'm just a small servant girl, so I don't have the right to ask for anything. Besides, young Master Feng didn't keep me. I just hope that the new maidservant can serve young Master Feng well, and I will be satisfied." Gone. Hearing Kongxi's words, Xu Feng shook his head. Maybe it was because he grew up in Xiangxia, and Kongxi, who was born in a humble background and extremely kind, didn't know how to refuse anyone's request, and he didn't dare to take the initiative to fight for what he wanted. This kind of character led to her final tragic life, although that tragedy also had domineering human factors. The only active choice in her life should be the moment of her death. The moment she chooses to die for Nifeng Bei's palm is also the most brilliant moment of her life. Knowing Kongxi during this period, Xu Feng couldn't bear to see her go to such a tragedy, but now he suddenly realized that even if he is a prophet who knows the future and the plot, it is very difficult to change a person's life. The ancients said that everyone has a destiny. Now Xu Feng has a new understanding of fate. The so-called fate is a collection of a person's personality and environment. A person will become what he is today, and what kind of life ending will he lead to? It is a combination of personality and environment. That is to say, life is not full of accidents everywhere on the surface, but in fact everything is inevitable. If one really wants to completely change a person's destiny, perhaps the effort required will be beyond imagination. Sister Kongxi, goodbye. Xu Feng said goodbye to Kongxi helplessly. He was really powerless in his heart. Not long after Kongxi left, Xu Feng just finished sweeping the floor and sat in the courtyard to rest. Suddenly there was a sword whistle, and a sword pierced his left chest quickly. Xu Feng was taken aback. He wanted to use his body skills to dodge immediately, but he found that the person who drew the sword seemed to have left room, and he didn't seem to want to kill him. Remembering his identity as a handyman who didn't know martial arts, he simply stayed where he was. The ground did not move. Sure enough, the sword stopped when it reached the chest, and then a woman's voice came. "I never thought that a handyman in the kamikaze hall has such good concentration." Xu Feng followed the voice and saw a woman wearing a maid's costume standing in front of her, but her appearance was beautiful and her temperament was refined. "I don't know martial arts, so there's no such thing as concentration. It's just that girl, you drew your sword too fast, and I haven't reacted yet." "Really?" The woman narrowed her eyes, and was about to say something more, when she heard a voice as gentle as the wind. "Who are you? Why did you stab my brother for no reason?" The voice fell, and a handsome man with long hair was standing between the two of them. The woman put away the long sword with a swipe, and snorted coquettishly, "I'm just testing it out, to see how your kamikaze hall's defense is." "Oh, girl, who are you?" Nai Feng always had a gentle look. The woman changed her coquettishness, and cupped her hands respectfully. "Slave sword dance, pay homage to Master Feng." "Sword dance?" Nai Feng asked in surprise. "Could it be that you are the #1 maidservant of the Xiangxia who the director when mentioned?" "That's right, it's me," Jian Wu said, with a smug look on his face. Xu Feng listened to the conversation between the two, and confirmed that the woman in front of him was Yuelao, Xiongba's daughter. She turned into a sword dancer and wanted to wait for an opportunity to assassinate Nai Feng in exchange for freedom, but in the end she fell in love and returned to the small building in the middle of the lake willingly. For the rest of her life, she always had unrequited love for Nai Feng, and finally blocked Bu Jingai's sword for her father Xiongba, and died innocently, which can be regarded as a tragic figure. "Hey, you brat, why do you look at Grandma and me with that kind of eyes? Do you want to die?" Jian Wu glanced at Xu Feng by chance, and found that his eyes looked at her with deep sympathy and sadness, and couldn't help being furious. "Ah, I didn't." Xu Feng understood that it was what he was thinking. His eyes showed it unintentionally. He didn't expect Yuelao to have such a delicate mind. In order to hide his embarrassment, he asked back, "You said you are the best maid in the Xiangxia. I don't know which aspect you rank first in." Nai Feng also stared at Jian Wu with great interest. Obviously he was also very curious. "HMPH, what am I #1 in the world?" Jian Wu blinked her big eyes, walked around Xu Feng, and suddenly flashed her sword. "My sword is #1 in the world." "Sword?" Xu Feng smiled and said, "Master Feng is very skilled in martial arts. I'm afraid it's not your turn to protect him with a maid. What he needs is a maid who can serve him." "You know what a fart." Jian Wu raised her brows upside down, and put her hands on her waist. "It's only the maid's duty to serve the master well, but it would be great if she can learn some martial arts at the same time." As she spoke, she walked up to Nai Feng and stared at him mischievously. "Young Master Feng, your martial arts are indeed unfathomable, but no matter how high your martial arts are, there is no guarantee that you will not be in danger. It works, maybe it can save your life." Nai Feng smiled lightly. "Jian Wu, you are very conceited." "Wrong, I'm not conceited, I'm confessing." Jian Wu paced and walked up to Xu Feng. "I'm not like some people who speak modestly but shout in their hearts that I am #1 in the world. It's none of my business, don't talk nonsense." Xu Feng said speechlessly. "Haha, it's interesting, sword dance, then you can stay." Nai Feng smiled and put his arm around Xu Feng's shoulder. "By the way, this is my good friend Xu Feng, you can help each other in the future. I have something to do and I'm leaving." As Nai Feng said, she spread his Fengshan legs and disappeared like a gust of wind. Chapter 112 Cooking Pork Lung Soup. Jian Wu watched Nai Feng disappear, turned his head and looked at Xu Feng who was standing there suspiciously. "Your name is Xu Feng? You are a sweeper, and Nai Feng actually calls you brother and brother. Is he stupid, or are you really like what I said? Is a hidden master. No, do you need so many reasons to make friends? I don't need it. You are too insincere." Jian Wu snorted, "My intuition tells me that you are definitely not simple." Xu Feng was speechless for a while, wondering if he really showed some flaws, but after thinking about it, as a person who knows the plot, "I still can't control you, a girl. Don't talk about me, I think you have the problem." Xu Feng touched his chin and walked around Yuelao, sizing her up carefully with his eyes. After feasting his eyes, he said, "My intuition also tells me, you are definitely not simple. What is the purpose of your coming here?" Yuelao was a little annoyed, her small face was full of sullen anger. "Don't spout blood, my background is clean." "Really?" Xu Feng smiled slightly. "The Xiangxia Association never accepts maids who bring arts into the association. How did you get in?" Yuelao's face changed, and he was speechless, and suddenly drew out his sword and put it on Xu Feng's neck. "If you dare to say one more word in front of Nai Feng, I will kill you immediately." Xu Feng was calm and composed, with a smile still on the corner of his mouth. "I won't tell him, don't worry. HMPH, count you acquainted." Yuelao put away the long sword, gave Xu Feng a threatening look, turned and left. What a savage girl. Seeing Jiang Wu walking away, Xu Feng murmured with a chuckle. He remembered that when he was a child watching TV dramas, this character was his favorite. Although there are many beautiful women in Fengyan, such as Mingyu, Second Dream, Du Yumeng, etc., he admired Yuelao the most. Although she is the daughter of the most powerful person in the world, it can be said that she is not bad compared to the princess, but she was imprisoned by Xiongba on the island in the middle of the lake since she was a child. She is the best protection, but also the biggest cage. Just like the orchid in the deep valley, which blooms in places where no one cares about it, it is lonely and lonely. If there is no accident, it will wither alone in the deep valley for the rest of its life. Xu Feng couldn't help but want to change her fate. He couldn't bear to see a flower wither like this, but after analyzing Kong Xi's life, he knew how difficult it is to completely change a person's fate. At this moment, a system voice suddenly appeared in my mind. Fate mission, save Yuelao, the daughter of Xiongba, and change her fate. Mission reward, system currency plus 15,000. Fated mission. Xu Feng was taken aback. He knew that system missions would appear randomly along with a plot. Brother system, is there any difference between this destiny mission and ordinary missions? Can you explain? The task of fate is a higher level task than ordinary tasks. It will only appear after becoming the chosen one. The purpose is to cultivate the chosen one's control over fate. Xu Feng seemed to understand, and continued to ask, then how can this task be completed? After all, fate is nothing. Whether the task is completed or not is determined by the system. Prompt, the main effort is to change the life trajectory of the person concerned. Afterwards, the system stopped making any noise. Xu Feng thought carefully and decided to complete this task for no other reason. The reward was, system coins. After returning to his room to rest, Xu Feng began to think seriously about how to complete this task. Fate is nothingness, and it is difficult to completely change the trajectory of a person's life, but knowing the plot, one should be able to figure out the trajectory of fate and slowly change it. Yuel's previous life had no twists and turns, and the change began when she was about to assassinate Nifeng this time. After that, she fell deeply in love and couldn't control it. Thinking of this, Xu Feng already had an idea in his mind. He decided to prevent Yuelao from falling in love with Nifeng. This is the first step to change the tragedy of her life. After a night's rest, Xu Feng started to act the next day. The reason why Yuelao fell in love with Nifeng was because he cooked pig lung soup for Nifeng, and felt Nifeng's love in the process. She lacked love since she was a child, and when she felt for the first time that someone was better than Xiongba to her, of course she fell into an unavoidable fall. It's a pity that the love he showed to her is just a trace of Nifeng's inadvertent expression. In modern terms, Nifeng is a big warm man. He has no other thoughts about Yuelao, but because of this, he stole a girl's heart. So Xu Feng's plan is to find a way to prevent Nifeng from showing love to Yuelao, and even deliberately destroying Nifeng's image, so that Yuelao hates him, which is not impossible. Shenfangtang has its own small kitchen, and Yuelao should cook pork lung soup for Nifeng in this kitchen. Xu Feng quickly finished sweeping the floor, and then sneaked into the kitchen. The food for ordinary students of Kamikaze Hall was still provided by the chef of Xiangxiahu, and there was usually no one in the small kitchen. As soon as I walked into the kitchen, I smelled a strong burning smell. Xu Feng held his nose, and saw a stove on the kitchen floor with black smoke rising from a casserole, and Yuelao was lying on the chair beside him, soundly asleep. She sleeps very sloppily. She must have stayed up all night cooking soup, and fell asleep when she couldn't bear it anymore. In Yuel's sleep, her prettiness and capriciousness disappeared, leaving only a baby-like innocent face, with long eyelashes trembling slightly. Xu Feng realized that he stared at a girl for so long, his face was a little hot, and he coughed deliberately. But this time, Yuelao on the chair was awakened. She stretched, and suddenly saw Xu Feng standing in front of her. She was shocked, stood up abruptly, and said angrily, Why are you here so early in the morning? What's early in the morning? It's getting late. I finished sweeping the floor. I just came in when I passed by and smelled it. Xu Feng said with a smile. Taste. Yuelao sniffed her nose and screamed, Damn! My pork lung soup. She pushed Xu Feng away and ran to the stove, only to see black smoke rising from the casserole. With another scream, he reached out and lifted the lid of the casserole. Seeing this, Xu Feng screamed inwardly. After the casserole was heated, if he reached out to remove it rashly, he would definitely get burned. It's a pity that Yueao's movement was too fast. He had no time to stop it, and only said no. Followed by Yueao's screams, and the sound of the lid of the casserole falling to the ground and shattering. My aunt is mad at me. Yuelao covered her hands and kicked the stove fiercely. Go to your boiling soup. The stove was kicked down by her, but her feet naturally suffered again, and she jumped on tiptoe. Xu Feng saw everything in his eyes, and smiled helplessly, thinking that he really deserved to be a spoiled princess since childhood. Why are you laughing? Who made you gloat here? Yuelao cast fire on Xu Feng. Okay, I won't laugh. Xu Feng stopped smiling as expected, but your hands are scalded, you should soak them in cold water immediately, and then apply the medicine. Who wants you to care? You must have no good intentions. Xu Feng stopped arguing with her, turned around and saw that there was a water tank in the kitchen, stepped forward to scoop up a ladle of water, walked up to Yuelao, picked up her burned hand and put it into the water. Yuelao was caught by his hand suddenly, feeling ashamed and angry, desperately trying to break free, but she found that Xu Feng's hand was like an iron hoop, and she couldn't break free no matter what. Don't struggle. If you don't deal with the burn, it will leave scars. Sure enough, all girls love beauty. When Xu Feng said this, Yuelao immediately stopped struggling. Seeing her calm down, Xu Feng let go of her hand, then handed her the water ladle, turned around and walked out of the kitchen. Hey! Why are you going? I'll get you some scald medicine. Xu Feng turned his head and smiled, then left. There's only time to code every night. Stay up late to code, ask for some recommendation tickets for support. It would be even better to give some rewards. Oranges need your support. Thanks also to Book Friends 140,130,152,228,932, Silwanian Bookworm, Flower Dream Season, and Book Friends 160,905,193,801,545 for their rewards. Chapter 113 Mission Failure. Xu Feng found that there was no wound medicine in his room, so he went to Kongxi to bandage Yuelao. In this way, Yuelao's plan to cook pork lung soup for Nai Feng on the first day was in vain. But she didn't give up in her heart. Her plan was to make Nai Feng used to drinking the soup she cooked, and finally put mihan powder into the soup, taking the opportunity to kill Nai Feng. The next day, she still stayed up all night cooking the soup. This time she learned her lesson and persisted in not falling asleep. Finally, the soup was not overcooked. Just as she was happily holding the soup and wanted to present it to Nai Feng, she was blocked by Xu Feng again just as she left the kitchen. Wow, Jianwu, you've made soup again, and this time it's not mushy. It's not easy. Xu Feng said deliberately exaggerated. Get out of the way, good dogs don't block the way. Yuelao said coquettishly. Xu Feng shook his head and said, no, I have to try the poison for Hall Master Feng first. Since he's my friend, and your background makes me suspicious, I must try it first to ensure his safety. You. Absolutely not. Is there really a problem? Then I can test the poison myself. Xu Feng said, and before Yuelao could react, he had already scooped up a bowl with a spoon. You are playing a hooligan. Yuelao said angrily. After scooping up a spoonful and putting it into his mouth, Xu Feng's expression immediately became very exciting, just because the pig's lung soup was really excellent. Seeing him taste it, Yuelao looked a little nervous instead, and asked with a trace of expectation, how is it? Is it delicious? This is the first bowl of soup my aunt cooked in my life. Do you want me to tell the truth or? Xu Feng asked embarrassingly. Of course it's the truth. I hate hypocrites the most. Okay then, but you told me that your soup is the worst soup I've ever had. You're mad at Grandma and me. Yuelao said, and there was a tendency for the small universe to explode. It's true, if you don't believe me, try it for yourself. Xu Feng said while stepping back. HMPH, I don't believe it's so bad, just taste it. She really picked up the spoon and took a sip, but it was a pity that the soup was sprayed out as soon as it entered her mouth. Bah. 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 This is too bad to drink, isn't it for human beings? She wiped her small mouth and blurted out. Haha, it's good that you know. Are you going to take such an unpalatable soup to Hall Master Feng? Xu Feng chuckled at the side. I let you take pleasure in others' misfortune. Yuelao said, throwing the soup in his hand, and throwing his grasping hand, he rushed towards Xu Feng. "Help! A gentleman uses his mouth but not his hands." Xu Feng hurriedly dodged. "I'm not a gentleman." Yuo's slender figure flickered quickly. "I hate a gentleman the most. A gentleman can only say that he can't do it, and talk empty words all day long. I would rather be a real villain who does things." During the time of talking, she chased Xu Feng and ran around the yard, but unfortunately every time she was about to catch Xu Feng, she seemed to dodge him by chance. In this way, the cat and the mouse chased for a long time, and finally both of them were too tired to run anymore. Yuo leaned against the door, clutched her chest and panted heavily. You have the guts, don't run away. Don't chase. I will, stop running." Xu Feng was also out of breath. Just like that, Yuo's soup cooking plan for the next day still failed. And in the next few days, every time her plan was about to be carried out, it would happen to be smashed by Xu Feng, and there was no progress. Under Xu Feng's deliberate obstruction, Yuo and Nifeng didn't even talk a few times. Nifeng is a very generous person, and he is willing to do many things by himself. Without close contact, Yuo naturally couldn't develop feelings for Nifeng. 6 days passed in a blink of an eye, and there was only 1 day left before the end of the bet. She thought that if she did not complete the task, she would go back to that prison forever, and her heart twitched. "I must not give up, there is one last day, I must succeed." Yuo encouraged herself. It's a pity that on the last day, when she was just about to do something, that annoying person appeared again. "Why do you keep fighting with me?" Yuo was full of anger. "If you don't move, I will really kill you. Jianwu girl, I told you, Nifeng is my friend, and I will not allow anyone to hurt him." Xu Feng said lightly. "Then don't blame me for being rude. This time, if Yuo is really angry, she only has this last chance. This is the freedom of her life. Even if she wants to kill an innocent person, she can't care less." Yuo's martial arts were taught by many top martial arts masters personally by Shangba, and her real martial arts are not even weaker than Qin Shuang. The angry swordsmanship unfolded, full of cold and murderous aura, covering Xu Feng's whole body. Xu Feng knew that he could no longer hide his clumsiness at this time, and showed his true strength. After fighting Yuo, he restrained her. Yuo looked at the long sword she had dropped on the ground. She knew that she was defeated, she had no chance. Her heart was suddenly empty, her only hope was gone. "Am I going back to that cage? Is this my fate?" The more I thought about it, the sadder I became, and the more I thought about it, the sadder I became, and finally I couldn't help crying. He squatted down, hugged his knees with his hands, buried his head between his knees, and cried wantonly and unrestrainedly. Xu Feng was taken aback for a moment. Obviously he was so domineering and overbearing a moment ago, but now he is so weak and pitiful. He understood why she was crying, and he blocked her chance to be free. "Hey, don't cry. It's a pity that it didn't help at all." With his hands on his forehead, Xu Feng found that his biggest shortcoming might be that he couldn't see women's tears. Slowly squatting down, looking at the man who buried his head like an ostrich in front of him, "I know your identity. You are actually Xiongba's daughter, right?" This sentence only made her pause, and then she continued to cry. "I also know that you approached Nifeng because you wanted to kill him because of the bet you made with Xiongba." These words really helped. Yuo slowly stopped crying, raised her head from between her knees. Her eyes were red and swollen like apricot stones. How do you know? Who are you?" "I am the one who can save you. I know that you killed Nifeng for freedom, but as his friend, I will not let you succeed." Xu Feng paused, and then said, "But I also don't want you to go back to that cage, so how about it? If you believe me, you can go back for a while. I promise to go to the island to rescue you after a while. How about it? Save me." Yuo smiled miserably. "Impossible, there are organs everywhere on the island, and there are so many masters in the world, you are useless alone." "I know all of this, but since I have promised, I am sure." Xu Feng approached her mysteriously, and said softly, "Actually, I am someone who can predict the future, and none of this will trouble me." "Predict the future?" A hint of surprise flashed in Yuo's big eyes. "Could it be that you are a clay bodhisattva?" "What? How could I be a clay bodhisattva? I'm much stronger than him." Xu Feng said disdainfully. Then you will really come to save me?" Yuo said softly. "Really, I know that you have taken your father's poison now. You should pretend that the mission failed and go back, and when the time is right, I will rescue you right away." Yuelao knew that the task of assassinating Nifeng would be impossible with the person in front of him, so he could only believe it once. Okay, I'll trust you once. Yuelao's eyes flashed a trace of desolation. Of course, even if you break your promise in the end, I can't help you. I won't, so it's settled. Chapter 114 Blood Bodhi. When the night of the full moon comes, Yuelao fails to complete the task and is sent back to the small building in the center of the lake by Xionba. Before she leaves, the last thing she looks at is Xu Feng. All her hopes are pinned on Xu Feng. Xu Feng knew that he had to rescue Yuelao in order to continue to change her fate, which was also his promise to her. From the beginning to the end, Nifeng didn't know the true identity of the maid Jianwu, who served him for a short time. On the surface, everything in Xiangxia is still as usual, but only Xu Feng understands that everything is just the calm before the storm. Xionba has already received the approval of the Bodhisattva, and it is a firm matter for him to get rid of Fengyan and Fengyan. Then there was almost the wedding that broke the situation. When Bu Jingyan snatches the marriage, the world will be in chaos, and it is definitely the best time to go to Huxin Island to save Yuelao. Only one thing exceeded Xu Feng's expectations, that is, Nifeng suddenly proposed to Xionba to go to Lingayan Grotto to worship his deceased father, and Xionba agreed. After getting the news, Xu Feng immediately took action. His original intention of joining Xiangxia was to ask Nifeng to accompany him to Lingayan Grotto, and now he is close to his goal. In the Divine Wind Hall, Nifeng was packing his luggage when Xu Feng suddenly appeared. Master Feng, I heard that you are going to Lingayan Grotto to pay homage to your father. Seeing that it was Xu Feng, Nifeng smiled slightly and said, yeah, since I was brought back to the Xiangxia by the master, I have never been back. Now that I think about it, it is really unfilial. After a while, it will happen to be the anniversary of my father's death, so I took the liberty to ask master, but I didn't expect him to really agree. Xu Feng hesitated for a while, as if he had something to say. Nifeng said, Brother Xu, do you have anything to tell me? Master Feng, I want to go to Lingayan Grotto with you, is it okay? You want to go with me? Nifeng was a little surprised. Why? Master Feng, since you regard me as a friend, I also want to kowtow to uncle personally. Xu Feng paused, and then said, of course, I mainly stayed in the world for a long time, and I want to go out and get a few breaths of fresh air. Nifeng smiled when he heard this. He knew that as an ordinary handyman, he really had no chance to leave the mountain. Okay then, you can go with me, and I will greet Manager Wen. Xu Feng said in surprise, thank you, Master Feng. The next day, the two rode their horses towards the Lashan Giant Buddha. Apart from eating and sleeping, there was no stop along the way, because they had to arrive before Nifeng's father's death day. After more than half a month of rushing, I finally arrived on the day of the death day. The Lashan Giant Buddha was still sitting there without any change, but this time, Nifeng was the one who came, and Xu Feng believed that he would be able to get the blood bodhi. Before arriving at Lingayan Grotto, Nifeng saw his father's tombstone, couldn't help but knelt down and kowtowed several times. Father, Fenger came to see you. Fenger has grown up. He remembered that when he was a child, he was here at the Lashan Giant Buddha. He saw his mother jumping into the river, and his father was dragged into the Lingayan cave by the fire unicorn. Horizontal ellipsis. Xu Feng knelt down silently on the side, kowtowed to Niren a few times, then stood up and didn't bother Nifeng. He observed the surrounding environment, thinking about how to persuade Nifeng to enter Lingayan Grotto. After Nifeng calmed down by himself, Xu Feng tentatively said, Master Feng, was Uncle Ni dragged into Lingayan cave by the fire beast back then? Nifeng knelt on the spot, recalled the situation at that time in his mind, and murmured, yes, Duanlang and I were playing together, and Ho Kilin suddenly rushed out of Lingayan Grotto, and I saw my father being dragged away by it, but could do nothing. Master Feng, it's not your fault. You were too young at the time, but your martial arts should not be weaker than Uncle Ni's back then. Do you want to avenge Uncle Ni? Revenge. Nifeng smiled wryly and shook his head. Father told me not to avenge him at the last moment, and I don't know what to do. Will the fire kiln still be inside? Now is not the time for the river to rise. It probably won't come out. Why don't we go in and take out Uncle Ni's bones so that he can rest in peace? Xu Feng slowly seduced. Take back your father's bones. Nifeng's mind was shaken, and he knocked his head on the tombstone again. Father, the child is not filial, so I will take back your old man's bones. He stood up and said to Xu Feng, "Brother Xu, thank you for your reminder, but it should be very dangerous inside, so you can wait for me outside." Xu Feng thought to himself, "What is the best way to do this? I want to go in with you to pick the blood booty. Master Feng, I want to go in with you, so we can take care of each other in case of danger. Brother Xu, thank you for your kindness, but if something really happens, I'm afraid I won't be able to take care of you. Master Feng, I won't hide it from you until now. In fact, like Duan Lang, I also brought artists into the club. I dare not say anything else, but I should be fine to protect myself." Xu Feng had no choice but to reveal, "I know martial arts. You are also bringing art into the club." Nifeng was not too surprised, and after thinking for a while, he said, "Okay, let's go in together. Besides, you don't need to call me Master Feng. I am older than you, if you don't mind. Just call me Brother Feng." "Okay, Brother Feng, let's go," Xu Feng said excitedly. The two stood side by side and headed towards the inside of Lingayan Grotto. The air in the cave was still so dry, the two of them groped forward for more than half an hour, but they didn't meet Holkilin unexpectedly. After going around a few more times, a natural hollow suddenly appeared, occupying a radius of about 100 feet, and there were several passages leading to other directions on the other side of the cave. On the wall of the cave, there is a kind of green plant like a creeper. In this pure stone cave, its green color is particularly abrupt. What is even more weird is that on its vines, there is a kind of fiery red small fruit. Seeing it, the word Zubodi automatically appeared in Xu Feng's mind. You can never go wrong. On the contrary, Nifeng didn't care about Zubodi. He saw a skeleton in the corner of the cave, and hurried forward, pulled out the gravel, and found a relatively large stone tablet with some words engraved on it. The above described the life of the owner of the bone in detail. It turned out that the bone was not his father, but one of his distant ancestors. From this, he knew the reason for the crazy blood of the Nai family and the danger of the Killing demon. "Brother Feng, these fruits are very similar to the legendary blood booty. Do you want to have a look?" Xu Feng shouted. "No need, Brother Xu, you can pick it yourself." Nifeng responded. He had already found the family-renowned Zuai knife, and his eyes were attracted by the 6 tactics of Aohong engraved on the wall. Xu Feng heard that Nifeng was not interested, so he was not polite, and quickly started picking. There were not as many fruits on the vines as expected, there were only 9 in total. After picking all of them and putting them in the portable space, Xu Feng breathed a sigh of relief. Finally got a blood booty. Today is the winter solstice. Happy winter solstice everyone. Thanks also to Baimasnail, Yichiu, Maranmo, Bushangzizheng, and Wu Sanchu for their rewards. Chapter 115, Warflame Kirin. Over there Nifeng was holding the Zuai knife, practicing the 6 Aohongju according to the pictures on the wall. The knives were shining brightly in the cave, and the power was very extraordinary at first glance. Xu Feng was also very moved by the Aohan Luju, but in the end he gave up his desire to learn it secretly. Since the Aohan Luju is Nifeng's family secret, Nifeng regards him as a friend. It's inappropriate to look at it, and you still have to stick to some bottom lines as a human being. In boredom, Xu Feng wandered around the other side of the cave, but suddenly found another skeleton in the corner. Curiously, he stepped forward, thinking, could this be the skeleton of a real Nairingkuang? He lowered his head to observe, and accidentally kicked away a handful of soil under his feet, revealing a flaming red. Xu Feng squatted down, pushed the dust away with his hands, and what appeared in front of him was a bright red fiery sword. Fire scale sword. Xu Feng knew that the skeleton in front of him should be the head of the non-lin sword, but he didn't expect that he got the fire scale sword by accident. The fire scale sword is considered one of the top magical weapons in the situation, but compared to other weapons, it carries an evil spirit, which will subtly affect the mind of the user. After Duan Lang possesses the fire scale sword, it just became more and more evil. Xu Feng swung the Hualin sword a few times, trying to inject internal energy into the sword, only to see the red light shining on the sword body, and a faint bloodthirsty desire rushed into his mind. Sure enough, it's very strange. It seems that this sword is also a tasteless one. I will never use this kind of sword. Shaking his head, Xu Feng was about to put it in his portable space. At this moment, in a passage at the other end of the cave, a sky-high flame and high temperature quickly approached, and the familiar coercion descended. Without any hesitation, Xu Feng turned around and ran, shouting as he ran, "Brother Feng, Hurry up, Ho Kilin is here. Hearing the call, Nifeng also put away the Xu knife and ran towards the exit. It's a pity that it was too late. The Ho Kilin was coming fiercely this time, and blocked the two of them before they entered the passage. Ho Kilin's whole body was shrouded in flames. He was about 10 feet tall and his eyes were like copper bells. He stared at Xu Feng and Xu Feng with terrifying coercion. Xu Feng and Nifeng exchanged glances, knowing that the only way out now is to fight it hard to find a bloody path. Nifeng let out a wild roar, took the Xu knife and used the 6AO Honju that he had just learned to kill Ho Kilin. With Xu Feng's fire unicorn sword in his hand, he displayed his self-created swordsmanship, and also leaped forward to attack the fire unicorn with Nifeng. Xu knife and fire Kirin sword, at this moment, are actually fighting against fire Kirin together. Behind crazy knife and Nanlin sword are headed by the spirit of the sky. Seeing this scene, I don't know how to feel. It's just that the two of them were aggressive, and the knives and swords slashed at Ho Kilin's body, but they didn't do any harm to it at all. Ho Kilin seemed to be enraged, raised his head and roared, opened his mouth and spit out more a ball of fire, attacking Xu Feng and the others. Xu Feng dodged in a hurry. He and Nifeng were both fast, but they were not hit by the fireball. Just like this, two people and one beast kept fighting each other, and the fire unicorn was powerful. If Xu Feng and Nifeng hadn't relied on the strength of their weapons, they would have been unable to hold on long ago. The two retreated while fighting, and tried their best to approach the exit. Every step forward was a battle, and the fire unicorn clung to them firmly. Its flame temperature is very high. Although they dodged with all their strength, the two of them were gradually injured. All of them were terrible burns. At the end, Xu Feng was already relying on his will to support him, and moved his steps outward step by step. Finally seeing the exit, the two of them were overjoyed. They used their full speed like crazy, and ran towards the exit, and the fire Kilin also knew that they had left Lingayan Cave, so it had nothing to do with him. It gathered the flames all over its body, condensed into a big fireball, and spewed out in one mouthful, like a terrifying flame bomb. It shot towards the two of them at a high speed. The two people who were running away felt the terrifying threat behind them, and shouted that it was not good. The speed of the fireball was faster than their movement speed, and it would definitely hit them before they went out. Xu Feng gritted his teeth, condensed all the remaining true energy in his body, poured it into the fire lin sword in his hand, and then turned around and threw the sword behind him. The Huolin sword pierced into the fireball, and when the true energy collided, it directly pierced the fireball, splitting it into countless small fireballs. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Xu Feng and Nifeng finally escaped from Lingayan Cave, but they were still hit by a few small fireballs, and their injuries were horrific. The two didn't dare to stay, and with their last breath, they supported each other and fled away. They didn't breathe a sigh of relief until they confirmed that Ho Kilin hadn't chased them out, and fell to the ground together. Xu Feng felt as if his body was falling apart. The place where the fire was burned caused heart-piercing pain. It could be said that there was not a piece of good flesh in his whole body. He had never suffered such a severe injury. And Nifeng, who was lying on the side, was not much better, and was also seriously injured. Even the worst gangster could easily kill them at this time. Brother Xu, I'm the one who got involved. You, cough cough. Nifeng said vaguely. Brother Feng, stop talking, I'm going in with you. Didn't we get out safely? By the way, Brother Xu, if I read correctly, the last thing you held was the fire lin sword. Nifeng coughed out a mouthful of blood. I made you lose the sword in the end. Xu Feng gritted his teeth in pain. It's okay. I picked up the sword from another place in the cave, and the fire lin sword is an evil sword, so throw it away as soon as you throw it away. There is no pity. That's true. It's just that we have suffered such serious injuries now. I don't know whether we can survive. Nifeng's words reminded Xu Feng of the blood body in his portable space. Two of them appeared on his hand, and he handed one to Nifeng beside him. This blood body is said to have the effect of curing serious injuries. Brother Feng, let's try it. Okay. Nifeng took it and put it in his mouth. Xu Feng also threw one into his mouth. As soon as the fruit entered his mouth, it turned into hot current and entered his danshan. The hot current rushed all over his body, and he felt indescribably comfortable. After more than an hour, all the power of Xu Bodhi was absorbed by the body. When he opened his eyes, Xu Feng felt that the pain in his whole body had disappeared, and even the skin burned by the flames had returned to normal. It's incredible, I didn't expect the legend to be true. Ye Feng, who was on the side, also found that his injuries were all healed, and couldn't help but said, "Yeah, it's really amazing, Brother Xu, I didn't expect that we survived the catastrophe, haha, thanks to you this time. Brother Feng, we are friends, right?" Xu Feng said, and another blood body appeared in his hand, and he handed it to Ye Feng. "Brother Feng, you can accept this blood body, in case later useful." "I can't take it." "Brother Xu, you picked it." Ye Feng shook his head and refused. "You're welcome, I still have some here, just accept me as a friend." Xu Feng stuffed it into his hand. In this way, Ye Feng certainly couldn't refuse. "Then I'll accept it. Let's go back to Xiangxiahu now." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 116 Escape from Lake Island. Xu Feng followed Ye Feng back to the Xiangxiahu. He had obtained the blood body, so he no longer had to bow down to the Xiangxiahu, but he still remembered that there was a person waiting for him to save on the island in the middle of the lake. After returning to Xiangxiahu, not long after, Xiongba announced that his maid Kongxi was accepted as his adopted daughter, and on the day he accepted Kongxi as his adopted daughter, he also announced that he would marry her to his first disciple Qin Shuang. Xiangxiahu has just unified the world of martial arts. One of the two married is Xiongba's eldest disciple, and the other is Xiongba's adoptive daughter. This wedding immediately became the biggest happy event in the world recently. On the day of the wedding, the whole world will be decorated with lanterns and festoons, a sea of red and festive, and people from all over the world come to congratulate in an endless stream from morning till night. But hidden under the festive surface, there are many conflicts between the parties involved in the marriage. Kongxi obeys fate and plans to marry Qin Shuang, but Bu Jingyan, who has long been in love with her, is already planning to take her away at the wedding scene. Xu Feng saw all this. He couldn't prevent the tragedy of tonight's wedding, but he knew that as long as Bu Jingyan made a move at night, the whole world would be in chaos, and that would be the best time for him to rescue Yuelao. When night came, hundreds of thousands of banquet tables were set up in the main square of Xiangxiahu, and the groom stood in the main hall, waiting for her bride. Xiongba sat on his throne with a smile on his face. Only he knew what was hidden in his smile. The bride, Kongxi, came out. She was wearing a bright red wedding gown and a phoenix crown in Xiapi. Although her face was covered by a bead curtain, she was still the most dazzling star tonight. With the help of the maid, she walked step by step towards Qin Shuang, the young Master Shuang, who was looking at her with a gentle smile. In the same way, she also saw Master Feng standing next to Master Shuang, the person she really loved, but unfortunately he was also smiling happily. He must be happy for the elder brother. He has never had a place for me in his heart, and from now on, we will never be able to again. She didn't see young Master Yun, that lonely and indifferent face. She searched for a long time, but still didn't see him. Won't the lonely him come to her wedding tonight? These are the thoughts that briefly flashed in her mind. Although the hall is very long, it has come to an end. Seeing that Kongxi and Qin Shuang had already taken their seats, when Chao Chu opened his male duck voice and began to shout about the kneeling etiquette for new couples. From praying to heaven and earth, to praying to the high hall again, to the final couple's worship, every movement is like a slow motion. But Bu Jingyan actually came. He was hiding among the endless guests in the hall. His eyes were like a lone wolf on the wilderness, staring at Kongxi firmly. His hands were clenched tightly, his nails dug into his palm, and blood dripped slowly. Heaven and man are at war in his heart. He is judging whether he should continue to endure, in order to avenge the blood revenge of his adoptive father's family. He has endured for so many years. Will he be desperate for the woman in front of him? But when Chao Chu's sent to the bridal chamber sounded, he had already made a decision in his heart that he would not regret his life. He walked through the crowd and walked towards the couple who were going to the bridal chamber. Gradually, everyone's eyes in the hall were attracted by him. At first they looked at him in amazement, but then their eyes gradually turned into watching the show. Bu Jingyan stepped forward quickly, took Kongxi's hand, and said in a low voice, "Follow me." Then he dragged her involuntarily and ran towards the outside of the hall. There was a commotion in the hall, and everyone was in a state of not reacting. Ye Feng was the first to chase after him. Qin Shuang was stunned. Shangba sat on the throne. His face was extremely ugly. He gave Qin Shuang a cold look. If you are a man, go and get your woman back, Qin Shuang roared. His figure changed, and he chased outside the hall. Many people in the main hall also wanted to go out to watch the excitement, and there was a mess everywhere. When everyone went to the wedding to eat and drink, Xu Feng stayed in the room alone until night, and when he had a premonition in his heart that it was almost time, he started to act. He had already scouted the way to the small building in the middle of the lake in advance. Sure enough, I couldn't even see anyone along the way, let alone encountered obstacles. When I came to the lake, the boat lay there quietly. Jumped into the boat, picked up the penny and propped the boat to the island in the middle of the lake. Although it was the first time to punting, I learned it after a few times of adaptation, and it was basically not difficult. On the island in the middle of the lake, walking up the steps, Xu Feng was cautious and guarded against the mechanism Yuelao mentioned, but unfortunately he had never encountered a mechanism until he saw the pavilions. The pavilion is hidden in the woods, with lights on, and walking slowly inside, Xu Feng tried to imagine what would happen if he was locked up here since he was a child, and the conclusion was that he would go crazy. Freedom is the most precious thing for people, and you don't usually feel its existence, but when you lose it one day, you will know how precious it is. The sound of the piano suddenly came out from the room, and it should be a very cheerful piece of music, but Xu Feng somehow heard a deep sadness from the joy. In the study room, there is a girl in white, playing the piano with both hands, and there are many paintings hanging beside her. A woman who is proficient in all aspects of piano, chess, calligraphy and painting, unfortunately, can only be appreciated on an isolated island. Xu Feng quietly stood aside without making a sound, and only gently applauded when Yuelao finished playing a piece. When Yuelao heard the applause, she turned her head suddenly. She saw the person she had been waiting for. Her eyes slowly filled with tears, and she murmured, "You are really here?" "Of course I will come," Xu Feng smiled lightly, "because I promised you, I will not let flowers be trapped on a desert island." Yuelao thought that he could finally get out of here, and finally be free. So excited, he stepped forward and hugged Xu Feng. Filled with tenderness and fragrance, Xu Feng was taken aback for a moment, feeling that this trip was not in vain. He was about to put his hand on the beauty's fragrant shoulders, but Yuelao pushed him away all of a sudden. She wiped her tears away with her little hand and returned to her original nature. "Miss Ben is too excited, just ignore it. I have already prepared my luggage, let's go now." As she spoke, she entered the room, took out a big package, threw it to Xu Feng, and then ran out of the island first. Seeing Yuelao with light footsteps, Xu Feng hurriedly followed. He understood her feeling of getting out of the cage. "By the way, why didn't I see the organs you mentioned when I went to the island just now?" Xu Feng asked curiously from behind. "Because I closed them. I know you will come sooner or later." Yuelao chuckled. She had been smiling since just now. Yuelao, who was smiling, was even more beautiful, and Xu Feng suddenly felt that what he did was not bad. Chapter 117. Leaving the island in the middle of the lake with a boat, Xu Feng and Yuelao walked carefully all the way. The expected obstruction did not happen at all, and the two easily slipped out of Xiangxiahu. He didn't stop along the way, and rode a horse for a long distance. In an inn in a small town, Xu Feng and Yuelao, who had changed their outfits, were sitting and eating in the inn. It has been a while since they left the Xiangxiahu. During their walk, the two heard about what happened after they left the Xiangxiahu that night. At that time, Bu Jingyan snatched Kongxi away, and Nai Feng was the first to chase after him. The person closest to him in his heart was senior brother. Although senior brother Yun and Kongxi were also his relatives, he still could not allow them to be sorry to senior brother things. When chasing to Xiangxiahu Square, Nai Feng had already stopped Bu Jingyan and Kongxi. "Get out of the way, I want to take Kongxi away." Bu Jingyan had a cold face, his eyes were full of murderous intent. "No way, senior brother Yun, have you ever thought about the feelings of senior brother?" Nai Feng said in pain. "Kongxi is already senior brother's wife, have you asked her if she wants to leave with you?" "No need." Bu Jingyan roared, "I must take Kongxi away today, if you don't let me go, I will be rude to you." "I won't get out of the way, Kongxi must stay," Nai Feng said, and he put on a posture, obviously wanting to make a move. Bu Jingyan put Kongxi aside, and said softly to her, "Kongxi, you wait for me, I will definitely take you away." When the words fell to the ground, Bu Jingyan turned his head to look at Nai Feng fiercely, got up and killed him. Guangxi seemed to be in a sluggish state from the beginning to the end. Hearing Bu Jingyan's words and seeing him rushing towards Nai Feng, he woke up and shouted, "Don't fight! It's a pity that Feng Guyan and Feng Guyan are already fighting inextricably." Cloud Peiyin palm and Feng Shen's legs clashed for the first time, leaving shadows of their palms and legs everywhere in the sky. The speed of the fight was very fast, both of them fought fast, and they fought hundreds of moves in a blink of an eye. After all, Bu Jingyan's skill was stronger than Nai Feng's. After 100 moves, Nai Feng gradually failed, and the negligence revealed flaws in his defense. Bu Jingyan immediately seized the opportunity, and quickly attacked Nai Feng with a palm, and it was too late for Nai Feng to dodge this palm. Guangxi, who had been watching the battle from the sidelines, suddenly rushed out desperately and stood in front of Nai Feng. This palm step Jingyan exhausted all his strength. Guangxi rushed out suddenly. He had no way to stop his palm. He saw his palm imprinted on the body of the woman he loved. Guangxi's body was like a dead leaf, flying out in an arc and then slowly falling down. Bu Jingyan roared Guangxi and rushed forward to catch her body from the air. Nai Feng also looked at all this in a daze, and he didn't expect things to turn out like this. Qin Shuang had just arrived when she saw Guangxi dying. Guangxi was spitting out blood, and she thought she was going to die, so she had the courage to speak her mind. She expressed apologies to both Qin Shuang and Bu Jingyan, but it turned out that the person she loved in her heart was Nai Feng. When Nai Feng heard that Guangxi loved him, he was shocked. Seeing that Guangxi was about to die, he suddenly remembered the blood bouquet that Xu Feng gave him last time in Lingayan Grotto. He always carried it with him, quickly took it out of his arms, ready to go forward and give it to Guangxi. But Bu Jingyan seemed to be crazy, roaring, "Don't come here! Don't come here! Senior brother Yun, this is blood bouquet, maybe it can save Guangxi's life." Hearing this, Bu Jingyan's ashen-like eyes glowed again, and quickly snatched the blood bouquet from Nai Feng's hand, and gently fed it into Guangxi's mouth. Blood bouquet is indeed a miracle medicine grown from unicorn blood. After Guangxi took it, the injury was immediately under control, and there is a tendency to gradually improve. Bu Jingyan's eyes burst out with unprecedented joy. He thought that Guangxi would not have to die. He couldn't help but roar to the sky. But at this time, Shangba had arrived with a crowd. He walked forward slowly, stared at Bu Jingyan and said, "Bu Jingyan, put Guangxi down, I will spare you." Bu Jingyan slowly put Guangxi on the ground, stood up and stared at Xiongba with hatred in his eyes. "Old thief Xiongba, I know you arranged all of this on purpose. You clearly know that I like Guangxi." Xiongba smiled lightly. "Really? Marriage has been the order of parents since ancient times, and the words of matchmakers. Bu Jingyan, if you do such a rebellious thing today, I will expel you from the Xiangxiahu today and abolish your martial arts. Shangba, it happens that I want to settle accounts with you, so come on." Bu Jingyan knew that he could not escape tonight. He had only one fight, so he used all his strength to attack Xiongba. Xiongba immediately took the move, and the two fought together. Nai Feng and Qin Shuang stood aside, at a loss. They just felt that everything had changed since tonight. Master and apprentice turned against each other, brothers became enemies, all the good things in the past would be gone forever. Bu Jingyan's martial arts are all taught by Xiongba. When fighting against Xiongba, he has no upper hand at all. What's more, when Shangba taught the three martial arts back then, he only spared Bu Jingyan, and he didn't teach Bu Jingyan the last move of Pai Yun Zhang. After the two fought for a while, Xiongba seized an opportunity and used the last move of Pai Yun Zhang. Unexpectedly, Bu Jingyan couldn't dodge, and one arm was directly broken by Xiongba. Bu Jingyan, who lost his arm, let out a miserable howl, his face pale. Shangba was about to step forward to end Bu Jingyan's life. He was even a little excited, thinking of what the Bodhisattva said, "Success is also a matter of failure, and failure is also a matter of fate." Now it seems that Feng Yun is simply vulnerable to a single blow in his hands. Nai Feng at the side, seeing that Bu Jingyan's life was in danger, recalled the years of friendship between brothers and sisters, and quickly stepped forward and knelt down. "Master, senior brother Yun has lost an arm and has become a useless person. Please spare his life." Qin Shuang gritted her teeth, knelt down and said, "I beg Master to spare junior brother Yun's life." "Oh." Shangba gave Qin Shuang a condescending look. "This man just robbed your new wife, but you pleaded for him." "Yes, Master." Qin Shuang lowered his head, I beg you to spare junior brother Yun's life. Xiongba remained silent, thinking that Bu Jingyan's arm was already disabled, so there was nothing to fear. Now that Qin Shuang begged for mercy, there was no reason to kill him, and it would not be too late to clean up in the future. So he shook his head. Since you don't care, what can you say as a teacher? It's just that Bu Jingyan has been expelled from the Xiangxiahu. Come on, throw Bu Jingyan out of the Xiangxiahu. Immediately, members of the Xiangxia Association stepped forward and carried Bu Jingyan away. Xiongba glanced at Qin Shuang and Nifeng who were kneeling, then turned and left. The guests have already been arranged by Wen Chaochu to rest in the guest room of Xiangxiahu. Qin Shuang stepped forward to pick up Kong Si who was on the ground, and walked away step by step, while Nifeng stood there alone. After that, Kong Si's injury gradually improved, and after she recovered, she was willing to be Qin Shuang's wife. And Nifeng felt that he had no face to face the elder brother, so he left Xiangxiahu quietly after leaving a letter. A wedding turmoil, although Kong Si did not die in the end, but Feng Heian left Xiangxiahu one after another, and the beauty of the past will never be there again. Chapter 118, Beijing Villa. After hearing the news, Xu Feng was also quite sad, but he knew that everything was inevitable, and Kong Si did not die in the end, which could be regarded as a comforting thing for him. Entering Fengaian world, the blood body has been successfully obtained, and the only thing left is to change Yuo's fate. However, the completion of this task depends entirely on the judgment of the system, and it cannot be rushed. Xu Feng is going to find something for himself to do. After all, there are still many things that can be used in this world. After searching around in his mind, Xu Feng decided that the next place to go was Sword Blessing Villa. After calculating the time, the peerless sword that had been forged by Sword Blessing Villa for 100 years was about to be released soon. Thinking of the power of a peerless sword, Xu Feng was still a little moved. A good weapon can make a person much stronger. Thinking while eating, Xu Feng finished eating, and looked up, only to find that in the bowl in front of Yuo, she had only eaten a few bites of noodles, and she picked up a large part of the noodles to the table. Xu Feng smiled and said, "Why, are you not used to this noodle? Yet, it's too unpalatable." Yuo slapped the chopsticks on the table angrily. "I've never eaten such unpalatable noodles. Is this for humans? Miss, just bear with it. This is just a small town, so of course you won't be able to eat when you are in the world." Xu Feng said helplessly. "But I really can't put my mouth down, I can't swallow." Yuo said aggrievedly, blinking her big eyes. "Okay, then let's set off. I hope we can reach a big city in the evening so that you can eat well." Xu Feng took out some money and put it on the table, and walked out first. Yuo hurriedly followed. She sighed and said, "I still can't believe that I have escaped. It's so good to be free. Okay? You don't regret it if you don't eat well or dress warmly." Xu Feng joked deliberately. "I don't regret it. No matter how unpalatable the noodles are, even if you are hungry, it is better than being locked in a bird cage." Yuo waved her small fist and said firmly. "However, where are we going next? Are we going to travel the rivers and lakes? I have wanted to be a hero since I was a child." Yuo said with a little excitement. "It's not going to be a hero, we're going to a fun place." Xu Feng said and got on his horse. "A fun place?" Yuo's eyes lit up, and she got on the horse lightly. "What fun place? Tell me about it." "Worship Sword Villa." As Xu Feng spoke, he whipped the whip, and the horse spread its hooves and galloped away. Sword Worship Villa has always been low-key in the Jianghu, showing a sense of mystery. Not many people know about it. Xu Feng only found out its location after some hard work. Xu Feng speculated based on the plot, and knowing that there was still enough time, he bought a carriage and drove Yuo slowly. Along the way, he recalled the birth of the peerless sword. In the plot, Aoshin, the young owner of the sword villa, took the initiative to invite 3 people from the rivers and lakes to the sword festival before the peerless sword was born. The 3 are Sword Greed, Bujingyan, and Zhuanling. The 3 represent the 3 sword hearts of greed, hatred, and ignorance respectively. The peerless sword is finally formed with the blood sacrifice of the 3. Originally, the peerless sword was an agreement between Aori, the ancestor of worshipping Sword Villa, and Niying, the ancestor of Nifeng. The peerless sword was forged to kill the Killing demon. Became the best sword in the world. It's just that it is not so easy to win the peerless sword. Xu Feng knows that, not to mention the many masters present, it is a big test just to get the sword. In the carriage, Yuelao listened to Xu Feng's introduction of Beijing Villa and Peerless Sword, with an extremely excited expression on his face, rubbing his hands together and said, "Peerless Sword, you are my aunts. PFFT. Yuelao, you want to grab the sword too?" Xu Feng couldn't help laughing. "Why not? You look down on me, my aunt." Yuelao rolled up her sleeves as she spoke. "Come on, let's make gestures and see who is qualified." "Forget it, I don't think so." Xu Feng didn't want to fight her, otherwise the carriage would be dismantled by her. "HMPH, you're acquainted." Yuelao put down her sleeves, looked at Xu Feng, and suddenly said curiously, "By the way, I never asked about your origin. Your martial arts are so strong, and you were lurking in our Xiangxiahu at that time. What do you want to do?" "I don't want to do anything, I just make a living," Xu Feng said vaguely. "HMPH, just make it up, hypocrite, you must have a secret," Yuelao said, her small face puffed up. "I really don't have any secrets. If I insist on saying something, does it count as saving you?" "Save me? You're talking nonsense again. How do you know I exist?" "You know, even the 3 major disciples of my father don't know me. It's okay if I can pinch it. I know everything about this world for 500 years. Have you forgotten that I knew your identity the first time I met you?" Xu Feng said triumphantly. When Yuelao thought about it, it was really like that, so she couldn't help but be skeptical. "You are really so powerful, then you can tell my fortune for me." A sly light flashed in Yuelao's eyes. "Help you tell your fortune?" "No. No." Xu Feng shook his head desperately. "In Fengyuan world, he can count anyone's fate, but he can't count the fate of Yuelao, because her fate is being changed by him." "TCH, I knew you were a big liar, boring." Xu Feng didn't refute, just smiled slightly. "The future is only interesting if it is uncertain. What's the point of a predetermined life?" Walking slowly along the way, Xu Feng also seized the spare time to practice exercises, and finally arrived at Beijing Villa a month later. The place where Sword Worship Villa is located is very remote, but the whole manor is built in a luxurious style, with 2 big stone lions at the entrance. Xu Feng stepped forward to knock on the door, and the servant who opened the door was the servant of Beijing Villa. He heard that he was visiting their young master, so he treated them politely and asked them to wait in the living room. After entering, Yuelao looked around and commented, "Zhuang Zixiu's performance is so-so, but it's still far behind our Xiangxiahu." Xu Feng smiled lightly, thinking how many people in the world can compare with you in the world? But as soon as Yuelao's words fell to the ground, a young man's voice came out from the inner hall. "What a big tone, will my worship of Sword Villa be worse than the world?" Following the sound, a young man in a red cloak came out. His face was handsome, but his face was full of arrogance. He slightly bowed his hands to Xu Feng and Yuelao, and sat on the head. "I'm Aoshan, I'm paying homage to the young master of Jianshan Villa. I don't know why you two came here." "Hello, young master." Xu Feng also cupped his hands. "I heard that there will be a peerless sword coming out of the Sword Villa recently. I am also a sword lover, so I came here specially to see the sword. Birth style. Oh? Come here for the peerless sword." Aoshan narrowed his eyes. "Then I'm sorry, Sword Worship Villa only accepts guests we invite. You two come uninvited. Sorry I can't entertain you two." Chapter 119 The Peerless Sword. Before Xu Feng said anything, Yuelao couldn't help it anymore. She pointed at Aoshan and cursed, "It's unreasonable. Are you amazing at worshipping Sword Villa?" There was a sneer at the corner of Aoshan's mouth. "Miss, please pay attention to your words. Beijing Villa doesn't need outsiders to comment. You two just please." As he said that, he got up and prepared to leave, obviously to see off the guests. "Wait." Xu Feng stood up slowly. "I heard that the young owner of the Sword Worship Villa is a man who loves swords like an idiot. Could you help me identify this sword?" Aoshan really stopped when he heard the words. Xu Feng took out a long Quan sword from the portable space, and threw it at him. Aoshan quickly turned around and took the sword. He held the sword to feel its weight, glanced at the simple patterns on the scabbard, and already judged that the sword in his hand was extraordinary. With a sound of swipe, he drew out the sword, only to see that the room was full of light. The sword body was broad and simple, majestic, like a dragon diving into the abyss, and a king's air rushed towards his face. "Good sword. Good sword." Aoshan couldn't stop praising him. Coming from a family of swordsmiths, he can say that he has read countless swords. He has heard of almost all the famous swords in the world, but he can't judge the origin of this sword in his hand. Inserting the sword back into the scabbard, he respectfully returned it to Xu Feng, and he said sincerely, "Mr. Sword is very extraordinary. Although I have countless swords in the Sword Villa, I am afraid that apart from the peerless sword that is about to be born, there are no other swords. The sword is not as good as Mr. Sword. What is the name of this sword?" "Long Yuan." Xu Feng put away his sword and smiled faintly. "Long Yuan." Aoshin murmured, suddenly seemed to remember something, opened his eyes wide and said, "Could it be the 7-star Long Yuan sword forged by the legendary swordsmith Wu Yizi in the spring and autumn period?" Xu Feng nodded slightly. "Young Villa Master, I am also a sword lover. I heard that the peerless sword that has been forged for a century in Gizhuang is about to be released. Can we stay and watch?" After seeing Long Yuan, Aoshin changed his mind. After thinking about it, he laughed and said, "Before Aoshin had eyes but didn't know Mount Tai, the two of you should stay." In this way, Xu Feng and Yuelao stayed in Beijing Villa. A few days later, other people invited by Aoshin also arrived one after another. On this day, Xu Feng had a meal and was meditating in his room, when the servants of the villa informed him that the sword sacrifice was about to begin. After leaving the room, he and Yuelao followed the servants to the square of Sword Worship Villa, and other people also came slowly one after another. One of them was Bu Jingyan, and there was a woman beside him. Xu Feng guessed it should be Chu Chu. Bu Jingyan didn't know Xu Feng. He sat on the chair without looking sideways. A few more people came out after that. One of them was indeed Duan Lang. Duan Lang suddenly saw Xu Feng. He was taken aback. When he realized it, he hesitated and said, "Hello, Brother Xu, why are you in this place?" Speaking of which, Xu Feng and Duan Lang were still friends in order to get close to Nai Feng when he was in the world. "Brother Duan, I didn't expect to see you here. I also heard that a peerless sword was born, so I came to join in the fun." Xu Feng smiled. "Aren't you in Xiangxiahu now?" Duan Lang asked doubtfully. "Haha, I'm gone, and I also left Xiangxiahu." The two were talking about the old days. Aoshin had already walked up to the main seat. Duan Lang patted Xu Feng, returned to his seat and sat down. Xu Feng noticed that Duan Lang was holding a fiery red sword in his hand. It was the Firelin sword he had thrown in Lingayan Cave, and knew in his heart that Duan Lang must have been to Lingayan Cave after he and Nai Feng left. "Everyone, come to the Sword Villa, and the village will be full of brilliance. Today is the day when the peerless sword is released. Those who are capable of the peerless sword will get it. Let everyone rely on their own abilities." On the square, a black sword with a unique shape is stuck in a large furnace. In addition to Bu Jingyan and Duan Lang, there was also a wretched man with a goatee. Xu Feng guessed it was Jian Tan, and then there was a sword demon with a beard. The names of these people are more terrifying than the last, but unfortunately they are all idiots. Although Xu Feng has never fought against them, he doesn't take them seriously. And the sword in front of him was just a fake. Sure enough, after Aoshin's voice fell to the ground, Bu Jingyan jumped out of the furnace and pulled out his sword first. Seeing this, Duan Lang also jumped forward. In this way, everyone knew that the sword was fake. Ao Tian told the truth. Just now was just to test everyone. The real sword will be officially released tomorrow. Everyone dispersed one after another, and Xu Feng also brought Yuelao back to the residence. Along the way, Yuelao followed Xu Feng, and whispered, "Hey, I see that Ao Tian is full of tricks, saying that the sword will be released tomorrow. I don't believe it." "Then what are you going to do?" Xu Feng asked with a smile. "Of course it was a surprise. Let's go to the sword pool tonight to grab the sword," Yuelao said excitedly. "Okay, let's go tonight, but we should not be the only ones, and it is estimated that several other people will also be dispatched tonight." In the evening, after meeting Xu Feng and Yuelao, they got up and headed towards the sword pond in the back mountain of Beijing Villa. Along the way, in the villa, although there were many disciples patrolling, both Xu Feng and Xu Feng easily avoided it. The sword pond is easy to find. When you enter the back mountain, you will see a huge cave. After entering, you will find that there is a huge sword casting field in the cave. The temperature in the cave was very high. A huge black sword as high as 10 feet was tied to countless iron chains in the middle, and countless miniature black swords were scattered around. All the swords looked the same. Yuelao widened her beautiful eyes when she saw the scene in front of her and said, "There are so many swords, which one is the best sword in the world?" "That one is not. The real sword has not been fully refined yet. It is still the last step." Let's wait on the sidelines. The voice fell, and two people appeared in all directions of the cave, who seemed to be guarding the peerless sword. You two young heroes, tomorrow is the day of the sword's sacrifice, please go back now. Xu Feng didn't say anything, just pulled Yuelao to the side of the cave, and after a while, several figures appeared in the sword cave one after another. Sure enough, Bu Jingyan, Duan Lang, and Jian Tan all arrived. After the three of them arrived, they all rushed to grab the sword first. Without the two sword guards taking action, the three of them fought into a ball first. Then Sword Demon and Ye Xiner also arrived with the people from the Sword Villa, and Sword Demon also joined the battle. After a battle, Bu Jingyan, Duan Lang, and Jian Tan were all wounded and vomited blood. The blood of the three people dripped to the ground, and the blood was immediately attracted towards the peerless sword in the middle, and the three rays of light merged into one and merged into the giant sword. The giant sword that fused the blood of the three people radiated radiance and absorbed the blood of the three sword hearts of greed, anger, and delusion. At this moment, the peerless sword was truly refined. In the entire cave, one can feel its peerless coercion. It was just reborn with dazzling light, and everyone was attracted by its brilliance. Chapter 121.5 Sword Soul. Ye Xiner saw the peerless sword being forged successfully. He got up and flew towards the sword. He wanted to grab the sword first. Originally, he invited Bu Jingyan and the others only to use their blood to finally sacrifice the sword and let the peerless sword be released. He didn't intend to give away the peerless sword. Giant Shan's Hoang dominates the martial arts. The three of Bu Jingyan were all injured in the previous fight, and no one could stop Ye Xiner. Ye Xiner approached the giant sword and was about to reach out to take it, but felt a terrifying high temperature, and his sleeves caught fire immediately. He was so scared that he quickly turned around in the air and flew back again. In this way, everyone understands that it is not so easy to get the sword. The body of the sword has been baked in a furnace for 100 years, and the temperature is extremely high. To take the sword, one must overcome this terrifying high temperature. For a while, everyone looked at the peerless sword, but no one stepped forward. After all, no matter how good a magic weapon is, life is not important. The temperature of this sword is so high. So how do I get it? Yuelao was eager to try, but after seeing Ye Xiner frustrated, she complained with her mouth burst. The magic weapon is not something that ordinary people can get. If everyone can get it easily, then it is not worthy of being a peerless sword. Xu Feng said, but he was planning to seize the sword in his heart. He knew that in the plot, no one dared to make a move in the end. Only Bu Jingyan stepped forward. Although he was burned by the high temperature of the sword in the end, the peerless sword fell into his hands in the end. If he wanted to grab the sword, he had to be ahead of Bu Jingyan. Of course Xu Feng didn't want to take risks, but he analyzed his flame dragon palm. When the flame dragon palm is deployed, a high temperature flame can be formed in the palm. If he used the flame dragon palm and then went to fetch the sword, Xu Feng felt that he should be somewhat sure. Xu Feng was about to try it, so he said to Yuelao, "Stand here and don't move, I'll go grab the sword." When the words fell to the ground, he stood up and rushed towards the giant sword that was 10 feet high in the cave. Everyone saw that someone was not afraid of death and stepped forward, and they all looked like they were watching a good show. But soon they changed from looking at the show to shock, and then to panic, because Xu Feng in the air was surrounded by flames, and after approaching the peerless sword, he really stretched out his hand to hold it. After holding the peerless sword, Xu Feng only felt a wave of heat pouring into his body from the palm of his hand, and the meridians all over his body began to burn. If it wasn't for the Yanlong palm, he would definitely not be able to hold it. Everyone on the ground, seeing that Xu Feng was really going to succeed in grabbing the sword, became anxious and rushed towards the giant sword one after another. When Bu Jingyan saw someone attacking, he couldn't bear it anymore. The reason why he came to snatch the peerless sword was to use its power to deal with Zionba. In his heart, nothing was more important than revenge. The peerless sword must not fall into the hands of others, so he also flew towards the giant sword. Xu Feng felt several murderous auras behind him, so he had to let go of the peerless sword and dodge aside. Those who rushed up did not dare to hold the sword, but killed Xu Feng who was hiding aside. It was obvious that they had the idea that they could not get it, and they did not want others to touch it. Facing the crowd siege, Xu Feng was not afraid. With a thought, Long Kun was in his hand, and he rushed forward to fight with the surrounding crowd. Of course, Duanling didn't come up to besiege because of his relationship with Xu Feng, but found Bu Jingyan to fight alone. When he was in the Xiangxiahu, because of Xiongba's words, he deliberately lost to Bu Jingyan, so in his heart, he always hated Bu Jingyan. The crowd divided into two groups and fought together. The three who besieged Xu Feng were Ao Dian, Jian Tan and Jianmo. Xu Feng went all out, and gradually gained the upper hand against the three of them. After another battle, the three of them were stabbed by Xu Feng and fell to the ground. In the battle over there, Bu Jingyan and Duanlang fought, but it was a draw. Duanlang had the bonus of the Fire Lin sword, but Bu Jingyan didn't have a weapon at hand at this time. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Xu Feng once again jumped towards the giant sword. After feeling it just now, he found that the giant sword is not really a peerless sword, it is just a shell in which the soul of the peerless sword is contained. Cast out the flame dragon palm, hold the giant sword again, and then the soul and the sword soul in the sword began to communicate. Seeing this, Bu Jingyan didn't care too much, unleashed his unicorn arm, punched Duanlang off the iron chain, and then jumped forward, holding the giant sword. It's just that he was not as relaxed as Xu Feng when he held a giant sword. The flames burned his arm, and he let out a terrible cry, but he gritted his teeth and insisted on not letting go. The two held the giant swords respectively and stood in a stalemate for a while. Suddenly, the whole giant sword trembled, and a dazzling light emerged from the sword, swimming flexibly in the air. Seeing this, Xu Feng knew that the sword soul of the peerless sword had been born. He quickly held a Longquan sword, and jumped towards the sword soul in the air. But Bu Jingyan was burned by the flames, and couldn't hold on any longer, and fell from the sky. The newly born sword soul is preparing to find a sword to parasitize among the thousands of sword embryos below. Before it could react, it was slashed by Xu Feng's sword, and it was split into two halves. The soul of the sword that was divided into two halves let out a piercing scream and fled away. Xu Feng had no choice but to chase one of them. He was fast and quickly caught up. Just as he was about to swing his sword, a faint dragon soul suddenly appeared from the Longquan sword, and he swallowed half of the sword soul that was flaming. Swallowed. And at this time, the other half of the sword soul had seized the opportunity and successfully parasitized one of the thousands of swords below. Xu Feng had no choice but to fly back. He felt that the Longquan sword in his hand seemed to be much more powerful all of a sudden. Above the cave, the person in charge of casting the sword saw all this happening. When he saw Xu Feng displaying Longquan, he had already recognized it. In the end, half of the sword soul of the peerless sword was swallowed by Longquan. The swordsman is also helpless. But the people below were dumbfounded, completely unable to understand what happened just now. After all, the sword soul was something they had never heard of before. Aoshan shouted to the old man who made the sword, "Uncle, where's the peerless sword now?" The old man sighed, "Everything is God's will. Half of the soul of the peerless sword is lost, so its power will be reduced, but it is still a peerless weapon. As for where it is now, it is hidden in the thousands of swords below." Upon hearing this, Aoshan quickly said, "Uncle, tell your nephew which sword it is." "Master, young master, I can't do this, only those who are predestined can get it." The old man shook his head. Aoshan snorted, stood up unbelievingly and walked into the sword pool, and began to check one by one. There are thousands of identical sword embryos stuck in the sword pool, and only the half-souled sword is the real peerless sword. Xu Feng no longer pays attention to the peerless sword on the field. He didn't expect that by mistake, he would use Langin's sword to absorb half of the sword soul of the peerless sword, which is equivalent to getting half of the power of the peerless sword. Already very satisfied, Aoshan searched for a long time on the field, but found that none of them were the same. Sword Greed and Sword Demon were also looking for them in the pool of swords. But Bu Jingyan was seriously burned. He gritted his teeth and persisted so as not to fall down. With a thought, he found a faint spirit connected to his consciousness, and tried to summon it. In the pool of swords, a sword soared into the sky, turned into a stream of light, and stuck beside Bu Jingyan. Seeing it, everyone knew that it was a peerless sword with half of the soul of the sword missing. Chapter 121 Seeking Nameless. The peerless sword appeared, and Bu Jingyan picked it up, but the others obviously wouldn't let him get the sword so easily, and a big battle was imminent. Xu Feng was not interested in the next thing. The Longquan sword had absorbed half of the sword soul, and it was already strong enough. It was no longer necessary to snatch the peerless sword. "You are Yuo, let's go," Xu Feng said, pulling her away from the sword pond. Yuelao was stunned for a moment, but seeing your brother Yun seems to be in danger, should we help him? Don't meddle in your own business. Xu Feng was not familiar with Bu Jingyan at first, and he knew that Bu Jingyan had the aura of the protagonist, so nothing would happen. All the way out, people from Beijing Villa surrounded Bu Jingyan. No one came up to stop them, and the two left the villa easily. Xu Feng continued to take Yuelao to wander around the rivers and lakes, but he was thinking in his heart how to complete the task of changing Yuelao's fate. After all, procrastinating like this is not a solution. Yuelao's fate has already been changed. After all, in the original book, she was always trapped on a small island in the middle of the lake, but now she is free and wanders around the rivers and lakes with her. But since the system hasn't prompted the task to be completed, it can only be that the trajectory of her life has not changed completely enough. In the original book, Yuelao was stabbed to death by Bu Jingyan's sword in order to save Shangba. Xu Feng guessed that to complete this task thoroughly, it is estimated that the final outcome of Yuelao's life would have to be changed. Tracing back to the source in this way, Xu Feng found that in the end it was the decisive battle between Feng Yan and Xionba, and there was a hidden connection behind everything, and it affected the whole body. In the play, Xionba was defeated by Feng Yan in his martial arts. He had already retired to the world, but Bu Jingyan still held him tightly, which led to the final tragedy. Xu Feng made up his mind that he would not care about the decisive battle between Feng Yan and Xionba, but after Xionba abolished his martial arts, he must stop Bu Jingyan from going to Xionba for revenge, then Yuelao would not have to die. After thinking about it, Xu Feng is going to go directly to this Honghu pavilion to find Wu Ming, and then just wait for the final outcome. Yuelao, let's go to Liang Town now to meet a martial arts senior. Senior Wulin. Yuelao asked curiously, what's his name? Nameless. Wu Ming? How could someone be called Wu Ming? Yuelao grew up on the island in the middle of the lake, and had never heard of Wu Ming at all. Senior Anonymous is the martial arts myth 20 years ago, but he has been reclusive all these years. While answering Yuelao, Xu Feng thought in his mind that after finding Wu Ming, he could learn swordsmanship from Wu Ming. Wu Ming at this time was still famous for his inexplicable swordsmanship, and his later Wanjian Gizan learned it after his martial arts were abolished. The inexplicable swordsmanship, as the nameless and famous swordsmanship, is also very powerful. The nameless apprentice, Jian Chen, relied on his inexplicable swordsmanship to break the sword 22 of Wushuang's sword master. Since Xu Feng got the Longquan sword, he has never obtained a suitable sword method. Now the power of the Longquan sword has increased greatly. If he can cooperate with a suitable sword method, his strength will definitely be greatly enhanced. In Fengyan, if you want to talk about the strongest swordsmanship, Wushuang Chang's allure love can be counted, and there is the later sword master Longer's 6 extermination sword 23, which is said to be able to stop time. But these two kinds of swordsmanship are too far away, there is no suitable opportunity, and it is difficult to learn them for a while. It's Wu Ming's inexplicable swordsmanship, it shouldn't be so difficult to learn it. After Xionba was finally defeated by Feng Yan, it was Wu Ming who took Xionba in and let him abolish his martial arts. Going to Wu Ming now can be said to kill two birds with one stone. On the way to Liang Town, Xu Feng heard about some things in Jianghu. Bu Jingyan was in Beijing Villa, and was finally rescued by Nai Feng who rushed away. In the Xiangxiahu, Qin Shuang took Kongxi and finally left Xionba. Xionba has always let Qin Shuang catch Feng Yan, but in Qin Shuang's heart, he values the friendship with the two senior brothers, and is sandwiched between the master and the brothers. In the end, he simply takes Kongxi and retreats to the world. No one knows where they went. After Qin Shuang left Xiangxiahu, in Xiangxiahu, only the 12 demons of Xianxi remained under Xionba's capable men, but not long after, Duanlang joined Xianxiahu again. Xu Feng didn't mind hearing the news, but Yuelao became depressed when he heard it. Yuelao, are you worried about your father? I don't know, maybe a little bit. Yuelao sighed, raised her head and looked at the sky. Before, I always wanted to leave my father, but now my father and his 3 disciples have left him, and I am not with him. By my side, I wonder if he will be very sad. Your father, a hero of his generation, should be fine. Xu Feng comforted, of course, if you want to go back, I can send you back to Xiangxiahu. Go back. Yuelao thought for a while, then glanced at Xu Feng again. Forget it, I still won't go back, I'll just follow you. Okay, Yuo has something, I don't know if I should tell you. Xu Feng tentatively said. What's the matter? Yuelao opened her eyes wide. Remember what I told you? I can count things in the future. Xu Feng paused and said, Bu Jingyan actually has a blood feud with Xiangsha, and he and Nifeng will eventually seek revenge from your father, Xiongba. Ah. Yuo said in a panic, Senior brothers Yun and Feng will seek revenge on my father? Will my father be in danger? No, Xu Feng shook his head, your father is highly skilled in martial arts, but he is born to be his nemesis. In the end, he will lose his martial arts and hegemony, but he will keep his life. Lost hegemony. Yuo breathed a sigh of relief, father chased hegemony and killed a lot of people, and he is very old now, if he can lose his martial arts and go back to seclusion, it would be a good choice. I'm relieved if you think so. Xu Feng breathed a sigh of relief, then let's go to Senior Wu-Ming now, he should be able to guarantee your father's safety after losing his martial arts. Half a month later, I came to Liang Town. The Zhonghu Pavilion is an inn that provides accommodation and meals for martial arts practitioners. It is very easy to find. Xu Feng took Yuo to the Zhonghu Pavilion, came to the counter, and asked, Shopkeeper, I want to ask to see the owner of this Zhonghu Pavilion, may I introduce you? My master? 2 guest officers, it's very unfortunate that the master went out a few days ago and has something to do, and he hasn't come back yet. The shopkeeper said apologetically. Didn't you come back? Xu Feng thought for a while, then give me 2 upper rooms. Are we going to stay here and wait for Senior Unknown? Yuo asked curiously. Well, let's just wait here. Chapter 122 Inexplicable Swordsmanship. After staying in this Zhonghu Pavilion, Xu Feng practiced exercises while waiting for Wu-Ming. He knew that Wu-Ming should be going to teach Nifeng and Bu Jingyan Mo Wuliang at this time. Mo Ke Boundless is a kind of martial art that makes wind and cloud cooperate with each other. In the end, wind and cloud combine to defeat Xiongba's 3-point return to vitality. None of this has anything to do with Xu Feng at this time, he just needs to wait until all the dust settles, and then at the last moment, stop Bu Jingyan from killing Xiongba. However, to stop Bu Jingyan, one must have the corresponding strength. Xu Feng has fought against people in this world several times, and understands that his innate initial cultivation base can probably be tied with Fengyan and Fengyan in their normal state. Bu Jingyan, as the protagonist of this world, at a critical moment, his combat power will soar, which is much stronger than normal. Just in case, Xu Feng decided to improve his strength again. There are still 6 of the blood bodhi that I got from Lingayan Grotto last time. Blood bodhi is a holy medicine for healing, but it can also increase one's skill. The holy medicine for healing can save a person's life in a critical moment. It is not cost-effective to use it alone to improve the skill, but there is no other way to improve the cultivation base in a short period of time. Xu Feng first checked the status of the character in his mind, level, innate early stage, experience. 4,146 50,000 inches, and then took out a blood bodhi from his portable space and swallowed it. As soon as I took it, I felt the heat flowing all over my body, and the familiar energy was released in the body. The body was like a dry earth, quickly absorbing these energies. It lasted for more than an hour before it was considered to have completely absorbed the energy of a blood bodhi. Xu Feng felt that his skills had improved a bit, and when he checked his body, his experience points had also increased by ... In the following time, Xu Feng took 3 more blood bodhi one after another. These energy entered his body, and all of it was absorbed by his body without any waste. After taking 4 blood bodhis in a row, Xu Feng directly broke through the mid-innate stage and entered the late innate stage. The system displayed grade, innate late stage, experience. 84,146 100,000 inches in his mind. These values displayed by the system are just the precise quantification of Xu Feng's strength. After entering the late congenital stage, Xu Feng only felt that his whole body was full of strength. Every bone and every muscle was different from before. It can be said that there had been a radical change. Moreover, Xu Feng also discovered that his body is like a bottomless pit. There is no upper limit for absorption of natural materials and earthly treasures. The excess energy that ordinary people will encounter, or what breakthrough bottlenecks in cultivation, is here absolutely non-existent. He had no doubt that even though he had swallowed 4 blood bodhis in one go just now, even if he swallowed the remaining 2 immediately, his body would still be able to absorb them. It's just that Xu Feng wouldn't do this. He was absolutely sure to deal with Wu Jingyan when he was promoted to the late Xianshan stage, so he should keep the remaining blood body for later. After all, the medicine for wounds is hard to find. After his strength improved, Xu Feng continued to practice borrowing the universe. Under his practice, the progress of this method has reached 80%, and it is not far from a great success. When he was free, Xu Feng would also accompany Yuelao to wander around the town, but she was always in a bad mood. Xu Feng knew that she was worried about Xiongba's safety. After living in Zhonghu Pavilion for half a month, Wu Ming didn't come back, but Jianshan was waiting for him. Jianshan is the only successor of Wu Ming, and he can be regarded as a gentleman, but he was drugged by Duan Lang, and finally did something worse than a beast, giving in to Bu Jingyan and wearing a cuckold. Seeing Jianshan, Xu Feng had a new idea in his mind. He came to Wu Ming to learn the inexplicable swordsmanship. He didn't expect Wu Ming to teach him. After all, in the martial arts world, except for his own disciples, most people would not easily pass on martial arts. But this is not a problem for Xu Feng, because the system can automatically record the martial arts of the person he fights with. It is enough to find an opportunity to fight Wu Ming and let Wu Ming use the inexplicable swordsmanship. But Wu Ming is a martial arts legend after all, and it is risky to fight against him, but Jianshan is different. Jianshan also knows inexplicable sword skills. As long as he fights with him, he can also get inexplicable sword skills. On this day, Jianshan got up and was sitting in the room to meditate and practice his skills. He was originally ordered by his master to retrieve the peerless sword, but unfortunately encountered an accident on the way, and then Wu Ming took action himself, so he had to return first. There was a sudden noise outside the room. He had keen hearing, got up and quickly chased it out, only to see the back of a man in black. After chasing the man in black to the woods outside the town, the man in black stopped suddenly. "May I ask which hero is coming to my Zhonghu Pavilion? Why don't you show your true colors?" Jianshan said politely, cupping his hands. It's a pity that the man in black didn't answer. He jumped forward and raised his hands. Jianshan had no choice but to draw out the heroic sword to parry. At the beginning, he didn't take the man in black seriously. After all, he got the true biography of Master Wu Ming, and he is also a master in the world. But soon he discovered that the person in front of him was a rare master, so he had to go all out, and finally resorted to the inexplicable sword technique passed down by his master. The two sides fought a battle, and after hundreds of moves, even though Jianshan had used an inexplicable swordsmanship, he was slowly at a disadvantage. He found that the man in black was extremely powerful, and his movements were powerful, but his moves were not subtle. However, with one force down 10 times, the skill is profound. Even if the moves are not perfect, Jianshan feels that he is gradually exhausted and will not be able to hold on. But after the man in black completely gained the upper hand, he suddenly withdrew his move, and then disappeared in a flash. Jianshan was left on the spot, with a puzzled expression on his face. He couldn't figure out the origin and root of the man in black at all. And the man in black is Xu Feng in disguise. He deliberately covered his face in order not to offend the Zhonghu Pavilion. After fighting Jianshan, he retreated when the inexplicable swordsmanship appeared in the system wall in his mind. At this moment, Xu Feng was in the room, took off his black clothes, and resumed his original attire. Looking closely at the inexplicable sword art in the system wall, the above system judged it to be an innate elementary sword manual, and the price of the system was even more expensive, 2,000 system coins. But this price is all-inclusive, which means that as long as you buy it, you can automatically learn the inexplicable swordsmanship, so you don't need to spend time learning it yourself. Xu Feng checked his system currency balance, and it showed 2,162, which was just enough to learn, so he spent 2,000 coins without hesitation, and bought the inexplicable sword technique. After buying it, a lot of information flooded into my mind. Fortunately, I entered the late stage of congenital and my mental capacity was strong enough, so there was only a faint pain in my mind. After all the information was absorbed, Xu Feng felt that he was very familiar with the inexplicable swordsmanship. This method of the system is similar to directly implanting a memory fragment into the brain, so after absorbing it, everything is as if it was born with it. With a thought, the Longquan sword appeared in his hand, and then his body moved according to the memory. The sword glowed in the room, and a set of inexplicable swordsmanship was smoothly used. Innate late-stage skills, coupled with the power of the Longquan sword, and now combined with the inexplicable swordsmanship, Xu Feng really wanted to find someone to test his current level of strength. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelists. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 123, Longyao Shallow Water. Not long after learning the inexplicable swordsmanship, Wu Ming returned to this Honghu pavilion. Xu Feng knew that since Wu Ming had returned, the decisive battle between Feng Guiyan and Xiongba would not be far away. It's just that he originally asked to see Wu Ming to learn the inexplicable swordsmanship. Now that he has learned the swordsmanship, there is no need to meet Wu Ming. According to the plot, after Xiongba is defeated by Feng Guiyan, he will finally pass through this Honghu pavilion, and then be fooled by Wu Ming to abolish his martial arts. So Xu Feng is going to continue to live, just sit and wait in this place. Seeing that Xu Feng didn't go to see Wu Ming, Yuelao felt strange. Aren't we here to see Senior Wu Ming? Why don't you go to see him again? Things have changed, and it's not yet the time to meet the unknown senior, so let's continue to live and wait slowly. After a while, we should wait for someone who surprises you. Xu Feng just explained in this way. Yuelao had no choice but to live with Xu Feng and wait in peace. But at this time, in another place, Fengxi village, a big battle was going on. Xiongba has no one available under his command. He catches Bu Jingyan and Nai Feng many times but fails, and it just so happens that his 3 points belong to the master of vitality cultivation, so he prepares to do it himself to get rid of Feng Guiyan, the 2 thorns in his side. At this time, his subordinates reported that Feng Guiyan was in Fengxi village, so he personally led the people from Xiangxiahu to surround the entire Fengxi village. Originally, Nai Feng and Bu Jingyan also got together in Fengxi village to study ways to deal with Xiongba. Under Wu Ming's guidance, the 2 of them practiced Moke Wulian for more than a month, and their cooperation with each other was already very tacit. This is how Xiongba meets Feng Guiyan. There was not too much nonsense between each other, and the fight was started directly. Xiongba was very confident in the 3 points of his cultivation. Facts have also proved that he is indeed very powerful, and Feng Guiyan alone is no match for him. But in the end, when Feng Guiyan used Mako Boundless, even though Xiongba used the most powerful move of Sanfen Yuanqi, he was still defeated by Feng Guiyan. Xiongba, whose skill was broken, was seriously injured and fled in embarrassment, while Feng Yun began to chase and kill him all the way. Xiongba originally came here to chase Feng Guiyan, but unexpectedly he was seriously injured, changing from chasing to being hunted. But in the process of his escape, all the members of Xiangxiahu fell into trouble and betrayed him one after another. Xianxi 12 demons were the first batch to betray him. There is no one who can be trusted. He was seriously injured and escaped in the wilderness. Xiongba deeply experienced the feeling of being teased by shrimps in the shallow water of Longyao and bullied by dogs when Yuelao Pengyang was bullied. Thinking of the unification of martial arts that I have pursued for many years, but in the end it was the result of betrayal by all relatives, and even my beloved daughter has never been seen. The desolation in my heart cannot be added. He walked for a long time in the wilderness that day, and finally saw a small town. When he arrived in the town, Xiongba went directly to the best inn in the town, asked for a room, and prepared to use his kung fu to heal his injuries. He thought in his heart that after the injury healed, he must make those betrayers pay the price, and he wanted to make a comeback. It's a pity that not long after he stayed here, the 12 demons of Xianxi chased him down. The 12 demons of Xianxi want to take advantage of Xiongba's injury and kill him. This is their only chance to control the Xiangxiahu, so they have always been more active than Feng Guiyan in chasing and killing Xiongba. The seriously injured Xiongba was no match for the 12 demons of Xianxi. He fled to the backyard of the inn in embarrassment, but heard the sound of an erhu from a room in the yard. The sound of the erhu is sad, which is in line with Xiongba's state of mind at the moment, but he soon finds that the sound of the piano is not that simple. A group of wild geese happened to fly by in the sky. When they heard the sound of the piano, they began to arrange and combine them into various shapes according to the changes in the rhyme of the sound of the piano. Using music to control the flying birds in the sky, this move completely shocked Xiongba. He understood that there are people beyond people, and there is a sky beyond the sky. He knew that he had met a peerless master. At this time a voice came from the room, inviting him in for tea. Of course Xiongba did not refuse. He also wanted to see the true face of the expert in the room. As for the 12 demons of Xianqi who came after them, they also knew how powerful the people in the house were, so they didn't dare to force their way. After Xiongba entered the house, he didn't know what the people in the house said to him. When he came out again, he abolished his martial arts in front of the 12 evil spirits of Xianqi. The 12 demons of Xianqi saw that Xiongba had abandoned his martial arts, knowing that he was no longer a threat, and he was also afraid of the people in the house, so he retreated slowly. Both Xu Feng and Yuelao witnessed all this happening in the room on the second floor of this Honghu pavilion. Originally, as soon as Xiongba entered this Honghu pavilion, Yuelao was excited to meet him, but Xu Feng grabbed her and told her to just wait and see what happened. But at this moment, seeing that the 12 demons of Xianqi had left, and his father had crippled his martial arts, as if he had aged several decades in an instant, Yuelao couldn't bear it any longer, broke free from Xu Feng's hand, and flew directly down from the window on the second floor. Run towards Xiongba. Father! Yuelao shouted while running, her eyes were already filled with tears. Xiongba had lost his martial arts at first, thinking that his life was over, and all thoughts were lost, but suddenly saw the daughter he had been missing all along appearing in front of him. He forgot everything else in an instant, hugged Yuelao into his arms excitedly, sobbing so hard that he couldn't speak. Xu Feng didn't hide anymore at this time. He showed up, and Wu Ming also came out of the room. This is also the first time Xu Feng has seen Wu Ming, and he also admires Wu Ming's exposed hand to control the bird with the music. At least it shows that Wu Ming at this time is still worthy of the name of the martial arts myth. Xiongba put away his excitement, let go of his daughter in his arms, and said to Wu Ming, "Thank you, Senior. Xiongba is willing to live in seclusion from now on, and never bother about Jianghu affairs. It's good for you to think like this. I will find a place for you father and daughter to live in seclusion." Wu Ming said indifferently. Xu Feng took a step forward, and said to Xiongba, "Master Xiong, are you really going to stop meddling in Jianghu affairs from now on?" Although Xiongba didn't know Xu Feng, but seeing that his daughter seemed to be with this young man just now, he didn't think too much about it and said, "Of course, this old man can see through it. I just hope that I can live peacefully with my daughter in the rest of my human life. Well, I hope Lord Xiong will remember your promise today." Xu Feng paused. "If that's the case, I'll help you get rid of Bu Jingyan, although you are determined to retire, but he will not let it go." "Xu Feng, are you really going to find Bu Jingyan?" Yuelao said in panic. "Senior brother Yun is a master of martial arts, you can't stop him alone." "I'll find a way." Xu Feng looked at her and smiled slightly. "Just stay with your father well, and I'll stop Bu Jingyan now." As Xu Feng said, Bai and Wu Ming cupped their hands, then turned and left. Yuelao wanted to say something, but after a few steps, she stopped again. Neither Wu Ming nor Xiongba knew Xu Feng, but they both knew countless people, and they all saw how extraordinary Xu Feng was. Chapter 124. Xu Feng left Liang Town and began to look for Nifeng and Bu Jingyan. Soon after hearing the news, Duanlang Jiu took over the Magpie's Nest and became the leader of Xiangxiahu after the downfall of Xiongba. The world will be in his hands, even more brutal than when Xiongba was there. Jianghu sect is even more miserable, and Duanlang can't forget Bu Jingyan's contempt for him back then, so after he became the gang leader, he still tried his best to deal with Fengai and people. It's just that Duanlang is more unscrupulous than Xiongba. He first sent people to arrest Chuchu, and then he would spread a net all over the world, waiting for Bu Jingyan and Nifeng to throw themselves into the net. Of course, Fengai also went, and as a result, Duanlang was killed, and his position as the gang leader lasted less than a month. Bu Jingyan didn't have time to look for Xiongba because of Duanlang's episode. But now that Duanlang is dead, with Bu Jingyan's character, his next step is to seek revenge from Xiongba. In Jianghu, it is very easy to inquire about Bu Jingyan's whereabouts, because Fengai's popularity in Jianghu is really too high. On this day, in a small town hundreds of miles away from Liang Town, Xu Feng intercepted Bu Jingyan, who was looking for Xiongba. Bu Jingyan was still following Nifeng. He was surprised to see Xu Feng. He came up to greet him warmly and said, "Brother Xu, why are you here?" "Brother Feng, I'm here to find Hall Master Bu. I know you are looking for Xiongba," Xu Feng said while staring at Bu Jingyan, "and I came here to hope that Hall Master Bu would give up killing Xiongba." "Give up?" Bu Jingyan's indifferent face showed a sneer. "Who do you think you are? Can stop me from killing Xiongba?" Xu Feng was not angry at Bu Jingyan's words. He smiled lightly and said, "Hell, Master Bu, I'll show you the courtesy first and then fight with you. Let's talk about why you can't kill first. Actually, your hatred for Xiongba is because your adoptive father Hobushan's family was wiped out by the world, but to be fair, the mastermind of this incident was not Xiongba, but mainly his subordinates. People, you have already been cleaned up by Hall Master Bu. One more thing, no matter how Xiongba is, he has also given you more than 10 years of nurturing grace to Hall Master Bu. He taught the three of you Kung Fu and gave you all the glory. You just forget his nurturing grace. Yet. Also, Xiongba has now abolished his martial arts and retired to the world. If you still can't let go of your hatred and try to kill him, you will only breed new hatred in the end." After hearing this, Bu Jingyan's face darkened, and he stared at Xu Feng coldly. "Have you finished? Then get out of the way. No one can stop me from killing Xiongba." After Nifeng listened to it, he was a little shaken. In fact, he didn't have any hatred for Xiongba. He dealt with Xiongba before to prevent Xiongba from harming Jianghu. But seeing that Bu Jingyan was still so persistent, as a junior, he couldn't say anything. "Hall Master Bu, I have already made my point clear. If you are still so obsessed with your obsession, then pass my test first." Bu Jingyan's face was frosty. He took out the peerless sword, pointed it at Xu Feng. His whole body's aura began to rise. He did not despise Xu Feng in his heart. He had seen Xu Feng's skills when he worshipped the sword pool in the sword villa. Xu Feng also had a thought, and the Longquan sword appeared in his hand, and he also began to build up the momentum of his whole body. Nifeng was on the side. Seeing that the two of them were about to fight, he quickly stopped him and said, "Senior brother Yun, brother Su, don't do anything, just talk if you have something to say." One of them is his senior brother and the other is his friend. He is really embarrassed at this moment. "Junior brother Feng, don't worry about it, just watch from the sidelines. Brother Feng, let me fight Hall Master Bu." As soon as the two voices fell to the ground, they started at the same time. Xu Feng ran fast, and the distance between Bu Jingyan and Bu Jingyan was extremely close. The peerless sword and the Longquan sword clashed in the air, making a crisp sword cry. After a stalemate for a while, they fought fiercely with each other. Xu Feng used the inexplicable swordsmanship he had just learned, and combined with the Longquan sword, his strength reached its peak at this time. But Bu Jingyan held a peerless sword and used the whole family's swordsmanship, which was equally powerful. This battle was inextricably fought, but after a few hundred moves, Xu Feng gradually gained the upper hand. He is now at the late stage of innate ability, and the energy in his danshin can be said to be as endless as the sea. He even felt that the more he fought, the more powerful he became, and the inexplicable swordsmanship was also worthy of being the nameless and famous swordsmanship, and its power was also extraordinary. In fact, Bu Jingyan found out that Xu Feng's strength exceeded his expectations as soon as he fought. He found that Xu Feng's swordsmanship was not only exquisite, but also his skill from the sword was rare. After fighting dozens of moves, he couldn't hold on any longer, but thinking of killing Xiongba, he had to squeeze out all his potential to hold on desperately. But after hundreds of moves, the defeat has gradually appeared. He found that he was going to exhaustion, but Xu Feng was in better condition than before. Xu Feng also noticed that Bu Jingyan was starting to run out of support, and stepped up the offensive in his hands, and Bu Jingyan began to panic. Taking advantage of the opportunity, Xu Feng seized a flaw in Bu Jingyan, and flew his peerless sword away with a single blow. With a sound of Longquan sword brushing, it hit Bu Jingyan's neck. Bu Jingyan stared blankly at the empty hand and the peerless sword that fell in the distance. Knowing that he had lost, he slowly closed his eyes, as if he was letting others handle him. Nifeng was watching, and was also shocked by Xu Feng's martial arts. Seeing that Bu Jingyan was defeated, he rushed up and said, "Brother Xu, show mercy." Xu Feng did not withdraw his sword, looked at Bu Jingyan and said, "Master Bu, you are too persistent. Xiongba has raised you for 10 years. As the saying goes, a teacher for a day, a father for a lifetime. The truth is still the same reasonable, you should think about it carefully." But Bu Jingyan closed his eyes and remained silent. Xu Feng had no choice but to put away his long sword. "Master Bu, I will always be by your side. With me here, it is impossible for you to seek revenge from Xiongba." In the following time, Xu Feng really followed Bu Jingyan and Nifeng all the time, inseparable. Nifeng was convinced by Xu Feng that he had decided not to seek revenge from Xiongba, and then he began to work with Xu Feng to persuade Bu Jingyan. It's a pity that Bu Jingyan kept silent all the time, and then he fought against Xu Feng several times, and was defeated by Xu Feng every time. After more than 2 months like this, finally one day, Bu Jingyan spoke, and he decided to give up. He had been unwilling to give up before, because killing Xiongba was the meaning of other people's lives, but on this day, he received Chu Chu's letter from Fei Jack, in which Chu Chu said that she was about to give birth. Thinking of being a father, Bu Jingyan finally changed his mind. Then he bid farewell to Nifeng and rushed to Huojiazhuang without stopping. After Bu Jingyan left, Nifeng also bid farewell to Xu Feng, and he was going to find the second dream, the mysterious woman he met when he retired. Saying goodbye to Fengyan, Xu Feng also breathed a sigh of relief. He knew that his mission was finally completed. Chapter 125 Mission Completion. Sure enough, not long after bidding farewell to Fengyan, a system voice came out of his mind. Congratulations on completing the mission of fate. Reward system currency plus 15000. Xu Feng understands that from this moment on, Yuelao's fate has completely changed, and she no longer has to die for Xiongba. After completing this task, Xu Feng thought that he had been in Fengyan world for more than a year. His strength had risen from the early Xiantian to the late Xiantian, and he had learned the inexplicable swordsmanship. In Fengyan world, there are still many places to explore, advanced martial arts, such as Yishan Shenju, Wandao Senluo, Zhuang Wu's Hengguang, etc. Of course, the most attractive thing is the last dragon element. After eating it, not only can the skill be great increase and live forever, but Xu Feng is not going to snatch the dragon yuan this time, because Di Shishan, who will appear in the later period, has devoured the blood of the phoenix, and his skill is unfathomable, and in the process of slaying the dragon, there are too many masters. Maybe you can get benefits from it, not to mention getting long yuan. Maybe your life will be caught. After thinking about it for a while, Xu Feng decided to return to the real world first, and return to Fengyan world when his strength is stronger in the future, and then go to snatch the dragon yuan, which is the safest way. During this period of time in Fengyan world, I also met some friends. Among them, Nifeng had said goodbye to him, Kong Si and Qin Shuang went to live in seclusion somewhere, and the only one left was Yuelao. Xu Feng thought for a while, and was ready to leave this world after returning to Liang Town and saying goodbye to Yuelao. So he rushed back to Liang Town, came to Zhonghu Pavilion, asked Wu Ming, and found out that Xiongba and his daughter lived in seclusion in the countryside of Liang Town. It can be imagined that this year and Yuelao have traveled the rivers and lakes and experienced wind and rain together. After seeing her, parting will definitely add a lot of sadness. Now Xu Feng is very afraid of parting, because there are too many partings, and every world is like saying goodbye to part of his own life. In the end, he decides not to see Yuelao, but writes a letter and asks Wu Ming to hand it over to Yuelao. Everything was arranged properly. Xu Feng came to the outside of the forest in Liang Town, pressed exit in his mind, and left Fengyan's world. In the countryside of Liang, in an ordinary farmhouse, Yuelao is cooking in the kitchen, while Xiongba is like an ordinary country old man, sitting peacefully in the yard basking in the sun. Not long after, Yuelao was ready and shouted, "Father, it's time to eat." Xiongba smiled happily, and when he returned to the main room, there were delicious food on the table. He praised, "Yuelao, your cooking skills have improved again. Of course, your daughter is a sweetheart, so cooking is not a problem for me." Yuelao wiped her hands and sat down arrogantly. "Haha, yes, my precious daughter is the best, and I don't know which brat will be blessed to marry you in the future." Xiongba said jokingly. "Father, you're talking nonsense again." Yuelao blushed. "I'm not getting married, you should eat quickly." As she spoke, she filled a bowl of rice and stuffed it in front of Xiongba, but somehow, a face appeared in her heart. She glanced out of the room unconsciously, thinking that he said to stop Bu Jingyan, but he has not come back yet. She felt a little worried in her heart, and she couldn't tell what it was. At this moment, a person walked in from outside the house. Yuelao got up and said, "Senior Anonymous." Xiongba also put down the bowl, said with a smile, "Brother Wu Ming, this is a coincidence, come and taste Yuelao's cooking skills." Wu Ming smiled and said, "Master Shuang, I've already eaten, but I'm here to tell you a piece of good news." "Oh? I don't know what good news it is." "Bu Jingyan has promised not to seek revenge on you, and from now on, You father and daughter can retire here with peace of mind. Really? Yuelao said excitedly. Then Xu Feng succeeded? What about others? Wu Ming glanced at Yuelao, then took out a letter from his pocket and handed it to her. After Xu Feng came to this Honghu pavilion to tell the news, he asked me to give you this letter. Yuelao took the letter and said unwillingly, then where is he now? Why doesn't he come to see me? Su Shaoxia left after putting down the letter. Wu Ming said. Shaoxian said domineeringly, if you have any difficulties in life, just go to the town to find me, and I will leave first. Yuelao slowly pulled out the letter and unfolded the letter paper, only to find that there were many words on the letter that she didn't recognize. When Xu Feng wrote a letter, he used simplified characters. Yuelao could only guess and vaguely know the general meaning of the letter. Xu Feng left and didn't know when he would come back, so she should not worry about it. Putting down the letter, Yuelao suddenly burst into tears and shouted, Xu Feng, you bastard! You bastard! You bastard! Xiongba probably guessed what his daughter was thinking, got up and gently hugged Yuelao into his arms, stroked her hair and said softly, Yuelao, that brat doesn't know how to cherish you. Father will definitely find you someone better than him, 100 times better people. Father. Yuelao wept, but she was thinking about where that bastard Xu Feng would go. In a villa on the outskirts of Jiangcheng, a burst of space fluctuations flashed, and Xu Feng returned home. He first checked the time. Almost 2 months had passed in the real world, and this time could be regarded as the longest time he had stayed in another world. No one lived in the villa for such a long time, but there was no dust. Xu Feng guessed that Tang Shining might have come to clean it for him. When he left, he only told Tang Shining the address of the new villa and gave her a key to the villa. First tidy up, change out of ancient clothes, take a shower, and then sleep comfortably to relieve the jet lag in another world. After returning to normal physically and mentally, Xu Feng checked his current comprehensive data. Name, Xu Feng. Age, 21. Grade, congenital late experience points, 84146/100000. System coin, 15,162. 100%, 100%, 25%, 80%, 100%. Unlock app, WeChat, Kidian reading, Xiaomi video. Everything is improving steadily, and Xu Feng is quite satisfied. Next, Xu Feng drove to the city, found a high-end restaurant, ordered a table full of dishes, and began to reward his stomach. Going to another world is like going on a business trip. Xu Feng feels that he can't eat well or sleep well every time. In fact, it's not that miserable, but psychologically he has such an illusion. So when Xu Feng returns to the real world, he must eat and sleep a lot. Since the improvement of his skills, Xu Feng found that he became very good at eating. The dishes on the table, at least enough for 10 ordinary people, were all slowly wiped out by him alone. Everyone in the restaurant looked at him like a monster, but Xu Feng didn't care. He just ate his own food and surprised others. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.